Hey guys, welcome back to an all-new episode of a pro wrestling podcast with Matt and friends. I am again your host, Matt Kozakowski, and alongside me today is none other than the second. This is the man that I don't think should have lost the RWA championship.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm glad you mentioned it.
We will definitely talk about that when we get into this. But the man that should have never lost the Rhodes Wrestling Academy championship, he is the essential Paul Hubris. Paul, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm really excited about the show. I'm really
good.
pumped about it. You know, I got to rock my Armada merch because,
of course,
Armada
it's good to
for
see.
life, for sure.
It's good to see.
That's
what we want, man.
Absolutely. And I'm a big fan of everybody in the group. I think you guys are all stars, so I think the faction just fits for you guys so well.
Perfect,
but yeah, man, let's start. I want to start by saying, when I first followed you on Twitter, I know we mentioned this off camera just a little bit ago, but I was dealing with a lot of mental health issues, and you were the first one to reach out to me. First wrestler in general, just to reach out and just say, hey, dude, we've never talked before, but if you ever need somebody, I'm here. And man, that just spreads so much joy to me. And it makes me feel like people actually are good-hearted out there. And so I want to say thank you, Paul, because without people like you, this world would be total nonsense. So I want to say thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate that. I guess, I guess there's so much kind of that selfishness that goes around, as we kind of said earlier, it's just kind of, it's nothing, like, I understand, like, it's no big deal to me, you know what I mean? But like, obviously, as you said, it's like, it can mean so much to someone else.
Oh, absolutely.
And there's even people close to me, they've had that kind of feeling the way you're going through and all that, and I've seen it firsthand what it's like if you feel like there's no one,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I see it all the time. I see it all the time. I see people posting like they want to give up and stuff like that, and I do the same thing. I'll reach out to them and be like, hey, just keep pushing. I'm here if you need to talk. Like, I don't know you, but hey, we'll be friends. We'll be cool. Like, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think more people need that in the world. So, I genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, want to say thank you first and foremost.
No problem, man.
Being that kind of person. So, but yeah, Paul, I mean, we got a bunch of wrestling questions here for you. We're going to talk about your wrestling career, how you got into it. So let's start off with the basic. What got you into pro wrestling? What got you like, hey, this is something that I absolutely love? Like, do you remember when you first started?
Yeah, so it's different over here in the UK, mainly. I'll tell you, like, from Scotland, because it's different in England too. So we have is, it's called primary school and high school. That's it, right? So I know you guys have like elementary stuff. So you're in primary school from about 5 years old to about 11 years old, and then you're in high school from about 11 years old until like 17, 18. So it was the end of primary school when I was about nine years old.
Okay.
About 9 years old, and it's not some cool story, it's not some like, oh, it's, this thing. It was basically like we had like other kids would bring in like action figures and that sort of thing, and then you see other kids playing with it, and okay, you want to be cool, so like you go home and watch SmackDown, like so you can talk, so you can talk about it and have friends the next day, because if they're all talking about wrestling, you don't know anything. Like, they're talking about Edge and Jericho, and you're like, oh, what are they talking about? So basically starting from there, and from that, I just kind of like instantly fell in love with it, because I've always been a huge fan of, even when I was younger, like choreography in movies, like fight scenes, like Spider-Man versus Green Goblin, that sort of stuff, that like I thought was great, like the emotion and stuff. Like, it was like, yeah, this is like the shit. So having something so similar with that, and seeing like actual people doing it, not in a movie, it's like, oh, okay, it kind of comes together, and like, just from there, man, it's just love.
Oh, absolutely. And do you remember like the first match that you ever watched, like that was like, hey, this is awesome?
Like the first match I ever watched, or just the first one I was like, damn?
Yeah, let's go with that one. The first one you were like, damn, this is it.
Do you know what? I think it was the 2008 Rumble.
Okay.
Was that the one Cena came back in Madison Square Garden?
I think so, yeah. It was 08 or 09, one of the two, yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was 08, it might be wrong, but that whole show, because obviously there was no network or anything, I went to the store and bought that on DVD.
Yeah.
put it at home. That whole entire show, I think it was Jeff Hardy versus Randy Orton as well, I
Yep.
believe that one. That whole show, that was my first like taste of it. Because SmackDown and Raw over here are on at about 4 a.m. So we
Yeah.
can't watch it live, especially when you're a kid. And there was no like you couldn't record TV channels then.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. So you had to kind of be up to watch it or buy DVDs. So that's probably like that whole show from start to finish. I was just like, this is just like, and I kept watching because I only had one DVD, so I just kept watching it over and over and over again because it's like it's like finding your favorite movie and you just keep
Yeah.
watching it. It was the same thing. Watch the pay-per-view start to finish, next day start to finish, just kept going, and then eventually starting getting into SmackDown eventually because they had repeats on Saturday mornings
Yeah.
here, so you could like kind of watch it in the morning. But it's annoying because they cut out all the violence. So if there was a chair shot, they'd remove it. So you just get all this like like you're just like, oh, you just get
Yep. They did
yeah.
that for us too over here. Like it was like wrestling in the morning, like Saturday morning live
Yeah.
or something. And they would like do like the matches, but they would cut out like all the violent stuff because it was like more for the kids and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So
I remember there was a steel cage match on a SmackDown and the bell rung, they showed it, and then they just cut it to the finish. I was like, so what was it, like 25 seconds? They just removed the whole thing for TV. I was like, this is a
wow.
joke. So
Was it a title match?
I honestly cannot remember what it was. I just remember being so disappointed.
That's
Like
like the
just
quickest steel cage
I
match
was
ever.
like, what this because you see it, you're like, oh, finally steel cage. Because normally you'd have those for pay-per-views and stuff, but
Yeah.
the odd occasion they have them on a TV show, and that was one of them. But they just basically they had like you see them lock up at the start, little shine, and then oh
That's it.
finish. It's like, it just cut. You missed all of it. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, it's funny that you mentioned the like Royal Rumble being one of the first shows that you ever like were like, man, this is
Yeah.
awesome. Because I remember back when I was a kid, like it was like my parents let us stay at home, me and my twin brother. They let us stay at home and we went to the video store and picked out a movie. And the first pay-per-view that I ever seen was Bad Blood 2003.
Hmm.
And I remember like I couldn't get pay-per-views, but I could watch Raw and SmackDown, and I wanted to watch more pay-per-views, and the video store had pay-per-views and stuff. And they had, I think it was either 2002 or 2003, whichever one Brock Lesnar first won. I think it was 03.
Three.
But the first time I watched it, I thought Shawn Michaels and Rob Van Dam were the same guy.
Yeah.
Like the ponytail and everything. And I remember when Shawn Michaels came out, I think it was like second he came out. And it was him and Jericho, and then Michaels got eliminated, and then a little bit later RVD came out.
Hmm.
And I was like, yo, this is the same guy. How's the same
Yeah.
guy
Yeah.
coming out twice? And then a few minutes later, Shawn Michaels came back out and started attacking Jericho. And I was like, wait, I'm so confused what's going on right now. And I tell that story sometimes because I was like, I was still young, man. I was like only 12. And like
Yeah.
I was so dumbfounded because I was like, I'm a twin. Maybe they're twins or something like that. Who knows? But then I started getting into it more, and it turned out that Shawn Michaels and Rob Van Dam are my first and second favorite wrestlers of all time.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah.
So it's like maybe that's the reason they're 1 and 2. But I was just like, man, that's crazy. But the Royal Rumble is such a spectacular event. I mean, did you watch this year's Royal Rumble?
I did. Yes, I did.
Were you? I mean, obviously, we all knew Cody was winning. I mean,
Yeah.
were you more excited about it knowing he was number 30 and winning, or were you like kind of like,
I think it gets to a point now. I mean, it's cool. Like, it's cool seeing him win it because obviously I worked with Cody on Dynamite. We did a little couple things
yeah,
for the whole Arn Anderson, Malachi Black stuff. But so it's cool seeing somebody you've kind of been in the ring with win the big, like go there.
yeah, big,
I think it's just kind of like it was gonna happen, And I think being number 30 was almost very obvious. Like I personally, I think maybe him coming in at 20 or something would have been, but obviously there's reasoning behind why he was 30 and everything like that. But yeah, but I'm happy for Gunther, man. Like I loved how he came in number one and finished. I'm such a big fan of his. Like I think
oh
he's
yeah,
top five in the world. Um, for me personally, I think
oh he's awesome.
I really was happy he got that showcase.
He deserved it, man, and especially when rumor was going around with how Vince wasn't a fan of his and
Hmm.
how he was going to be sent back to NXT and all this stuff. And seeing how well he showcased, he's showcasing, I should
Oh
say,
yeah.
because he's still
Hmm.
Intercontinental Champion. He's absolutely killing.
Oh yeah.
I think he's incredible. Like you said, I think he is one of the best in the world.
He's
Like,
legit, man. He's legit. And it's one of those things, if you wanna, if someone's kind of giving you shit, being like, oh, wrestling's fake, it's this, show them a Gunther match, man. Show
oh
him
yeah,
him versus Dragunov, show the triple threat from Mania with
yeah.
Drew and Sheamus, like show them that and then tell them, oh yeah, it's fake, you know? Like
Oh
he's
man,
such
those
like a,
chops just hurt my chest, dude. Like,
oh dude, like, and that's why I think I'm such a fan, because I'm so into the realism aspect. I'm so like realism, like it's just
oh
my
yeah,
thing, right? So when I see people like him, I just like guys like that are just, for me are just, that's why I'm glad he got that
oh
moment,
yeah. And he's such a throwback too.
Hmm.
He's not like the flashy over the top wrestler. Like he just does his thing and he does it in such a slow but
Yep.
well paced match.
Hmm.
Dude, he's such an oh my god, I can't
No,
even
no pyro, nothing. He was the only guy at Mania to just come out, just simple
and
lighting, just walking down with these music. I love it, man.
his
Exactly.
presence, dude. Like
It's great.
incredible. Incredible. It's just like, oh my god. Like, and then Sheamus, you can't dude, Sheamus is on a whole nother level
Dude,
right
his
now.
past 12 months, I'm so happy he's finally had this, like, people are realizing now, and he's been given that like platform to really go out and have those types of
Oh
matches,
yeah.
because it's their style, and those three just they just gel, and it's what they're into, and they're all they're friends in real life, like it's, you
Oh
can
yeah.
tell like they want to go out there and beat the shit out of each other. But yeah, I'm
Epic.
so glad for those guys, man. They really have had that. And it's like the common, the average fan is seeing it too now, which is
Oh
good. You
yeah.
don't have to be some diehard like, oh, follow the career for 10 years, finally, it's like it is good that people are kind of coming out and being like, oh, these guys are great, because obviously people think of WWE, they think of the same kind of like four or five, names, but
Yeah.
like um these guys who have been here for you forget Sheamus has been there for what, like,
Over a decade. I mean, he's
yeah,
been
like
there
12 years
12,
at
13.
least.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
He's been there for a while.
And it's just is good to see, because that's my kind of style of work as well. So it's
Oh yeah. And just knowing where Sheamus broke out, I mean, he won his first WWE title from John Cena.
yeah,
I mean, and to knowing where he's been at now, and just he says banger after banger after banger,
yeah.
but legit banger
It's
after banger.
legit. Yeah, it's
You
great.
know, incredible. And I like the Scottish Irish
Hmm.
across the pond style of fighting because it's so real. It
Yeah,
makes it feel so real. I feel like they don't do too much flashiness. They're trying to, make it to where it just has that real
it's a
power,
fight.
real
Yeah.
right. And it's incredible to see. So we talked about, where you first kind of started watching pro wrestling. Who were some of your favorites when you started getting into it?
I think it's one of those things, like when I discovered it, like you have your kind of initial favorites as a kid, but then when you go back to like the Attitude Era, you get new favorites, like you
Yeah.
kind of come in. So de
Well, let's tackle both. Let's
yeah,
who was your
definitely,
original and
obviously, Cena, straight up. Cena is just one of the, like, people who like shit on Cena, man, they're dumb. Like Cena is
yeah.
just the full package. I don't care. Um Cena's great.
Well, it's crazy that you
Definitely.
mentioned that because,
Mhm.
when John Cena first started, like I was a fan of his. I was a
Yep.
fan of his
Mhm.
until he's transferred over to Raw and started the whole G.I. Joe gimmick, whatever he
Yeah,
was
yeah,
doing.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And
The
then
Ruthless
like
Aggression era was peak
yeah.
John. Yeah.
And then when fans started booing him, like I was kind of getting tired at the same time. But when he had his match with Roman, I think back in like 2018 or
SummerSlam?
2019. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
When he had his match and people thought he was going to retire, is when I kind of more started to be like, why did I ever really hate Cena?
But yeah, you do, because the
You
last thing you want
know?
to see is him go, like,
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
And then it's just like now, every time I see him, I'm like, dude, I'm so pumped because I get
Yeah.
chills because I'm like, how did I hate this guy? Because this guy's
Mhm.
such an incredible icon in pro
Yeah,
wrestling.
just
You know, it's crazy. And I'm glad that you mentioned Cena because I love talking about that because I followed the crowd of saying, I hate Cena, and
yeah.
then being
Mhm.
like, why? Why did
Yeah,
I
exactly.
really
You
hate
just, yeah,
Cena?
yeah.
You know? But going back to the Attitude Era, when you started watching like old videos and going back to times, who
Hmm.
would you say was somebody that you kind of like started to idolize more, where you were like, all right, this
Yeah,
is
I think definitely like yeah, especially when you go back to and it's more so kind of later on when I started really falling in love with the basics, you go back and watch like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels stuff, you know, like all that, just the stuff they were doing, and it's not this huge flashy stuff. It's the stuff that we're doing, just like basic, you know, hip tosses and all that sort of stuff. It's like it's in cross bodies, and people were going nuts for it, like
yeah,
nuts. And all they were doing was like a hip toss, and the whole arena would react to it. And it's like do that now, you know, it's like
nobody
people are
cares.
just so conditioned to seeing all this crazy shit, you know.
Yeah.
So it's kind of put, and that's kind of even when I work like when I work today, it's like I think back to that. I was like, no, like people still like that stuff, you know, like
Oh yeah.
it's still there and there's still a market for it. So that's kind of what I advocate for. But yeah, going back, I think I'm more like the product as a whole back then with like you guys like Stone Cold, The Rock, you know, the whole Stone Cold with Vince sort of thing, you know, that like dynamic of like that entertainment, like he's going after the, you know, like he hates the
Yeah.
boss sort of thing. Like everyone was behind it because everyone wants to punch their boss in the face, you know, that sort of like simple stuff, man. And it's such simple storytelling and TV and all this. Even like one of my favorite pay-per-views of all time was um God why the name's just gone. It's let me just get this up. It was in 2000.
It wasn't Armageddon, was it?
No, it was Backlash 2000. There we go.
Okay.
I was going to say Backlash, but in my head it was Aftermath. But ignore me.
Now it's
Aftermath's not even a thing.
WrestleMania
It's
Backlash.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Backlash 2000 was like Scotty 2 Hotty and Dean Malenko. Like that's like such a good match. You know, they had a
Oh
whole
yeah.
bunch of stuff on that. You know, it's just that sort of like period of like time. It's just like I always go back and kind of tune into that
Yeah.
sort of like stuff. It was just more like it's more entertaining for me back then. You
Oh,
know,
for sure.
when you go back. But then when you kind of talk about like favorites, yeah, like Cena's work. I was always a huge fan of Matt Sydal and Ziggler
Thank
because
you.
I think like people like people don't understand like especially when it goes into like selling and match structure and stuff. These guys are great
Oh
and they're
yeah,
so
100%.
overlooked by you know your quote mega stars, you know.
Yep.
Like, but when you look at these like guys who you people consider mid carders, but I don't really think like that. I don't really think kind of categorize them like that.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, guys like Seidel and stuff when they were kind of that was obviously like later 2000s, you know.
Oh yeah. Yep.
But when those guys were like just their selling and stuff and the way they stick, I always kind of was like, God, they're like the shit, you know, like
Oh, absolutely.
um yeah, like definitely it's like guys like that. I hope that answers the question. You know, I'm very like just to set one favorite. I don't know, man. Like I'm like
There's a lot, man, and it's hard to
I'm too like
choose.
I just love so many bits of like different people and what they were doing at that time, you know.
Oh no, definitely. Like, you talk about you not using the word mid Carter, like X Pac was fantastic.
Yep.
He had his group back in the day, X Factor, with Albert
Mhm.
and Just Incredible, and that was just brilliant. And I think it was something that should have took off, and it didn't. There was just so much going on that was so great. The
Mhm.
Radicals was absolutely incredible. Um, you know, Dude, there was just so much, man, so much that was so good, and
You realize how spoiled you know, people were
oh
like back
yeah.
then. Like,
And
like people look back, it's like, yeah.
now it's just like so many people, tell us what's going to happen, and
Hmm.
we can't be surprised or shocked anymore
It's
because
almost
it's
like you're
just
not allowed to, it's hard to be a fan now because you just get so you
yes.
go on Twitter and it's like here's a bunch of like you don't even need to follow these people. Like you'll just get like stuff pop up of like,
Yep.
oh, here's talks backstage of leaked of this person doing this. And it just kind of
Yep.
like, I don't know, like it is hard to be a true fan now.
Oh yeah, and then you
That sort of
hear
thing.
these rumors again, like oh, Vince is back, so they're going to do massive budget cuts again, and here goes all the releases, and I'm like, here I am considering because I'm a big fan of like Cedric Alexander, right?
Yeah.
Like Cedric Alexander, phenomenal athlete, and I will
Hmm.
shout out Cedric all day, every day of the week, like no questions asked. And what are they doing with him? Nothing. And
Yeah.
he's such a talented professional wrestler that he can just go out there and kill it with anybody, and they're just wasting them. And I'm sitting here like, I hope to God if they cut, it's not any of the wrestlers because they don't deserve it. They deserve to actually get a showcase. Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo. There's so many wrestlers there that are so friggin' talented,
Mm-hmm.
and they're just pushed to the
But
side.
it's one of those things though. There's only 2 hours of TV,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, we've got all this roster. It's like you can't. It's impossible to give everyone that spot. Like especially when it comes to long-term storytelling and
Oh
building.
yeah, for
It's like
sure.
and it sucks. That's the reality. But
I think about it too, where I know we talk about, that, ruthless aggression era and the attitude era, stuff like that. And if you look back at those times, they made a little effort each week to kind of tie in somebody
yep.
new. Like everybody was kind of getting that opportunity. And it's more up until like social media started blowing up that it was more of certain stars are getting their pushes and then the other ones are just sitting in the back.
Mm-hmm.
And I sit there and I think of like a guy like Apollo Crews, right?
He's
He
great,
sat he sat in the
fantastic.
back, he sat in the back, waited for his opportunity, didn't go on social media and bitch. He didn't fucking go on there and moan.
Mm-hmm.
And he got his WrestleMania moment by beating Big E for the IC title. Like Apollo waited his turn.
Yeah.
And people shit on him for his gimmick that he had and everything like that.
Was that what he
But
was doing, the kind of tribal thing?
yeah,
Yeah. Uh-huh.
but I thought it was great. I honestly, yeah, people were like, oh well, his Nigerian accent sucks, and I'm like, give him a chance, dude, because it's
Yeah.
fresher, so he's getting used to it. It's taking him a second,
Yeah.
but
Funny story. Yeah. Sorry.
killing it.
Yeah. A funny story about him back in, it was about, I think, like 6 months before he got signed, or maybe a year before he got signed. Me and him were on the same show together in Scotland, actually.
Really?
Funny enough. Yeah. I didn't know who he was because he was just like an independent guy during that time, and when you're younger, like I was only
Yeah.
about I think I was maybe 15, 16, so I was still, young, right? Trying to think back how long it goes now. And he might have been 2 years before he was signed, actually, now I think about it. But
Yeah.
um somebody, because I was like, new backstage, this like only been kind of doing it for a year or whatever. And this guy comes up to me and he goes, do you see that guy over there? And he pointed to Apollo. This is when he was called Uha Nation, I'm pretty sure
Yep.
was his name on the indie. He's like,
You
you
got
see that guy
nation.
over there? And I'm this like really skinny like kid pretty much. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, he called you a dick. And I'm like, oh, like, and he was just like, he didn't know. He was like, these guys were just like, joking because I was like the kind of younger guy. But it's just funny, like, just like him, and he was sitting there like he told the guys to do it. He's like, go tell that kid like I said that about him. And he was just standing there because he's massive. Like
Oh yes, he is.
he's huge. Like
Big dude.
TV doesn't do him justice either. Like he's massive. Um, and yeah, it was just like a funny kind of thing. And then I seen him like there. I was like, oh, okay.
He called me a dick.
Yeah. What was I
That's
gonna do?
awesome.
I was like 120 pounds. Like
That's awesome. No, I was a fan of his, man. I've been a fan of his since he signed with WWE. I never really got like watched his independent stuff like back in like 2012, 2013. Like I wasn't really familiar with the indie scene as much. You
hmm
know what I'm saying? Like I knew TNA existed. I knew like Ring of Honor existed. So like I knew who like guys like Cedric were and Roderick
Yep.
Strong. U Nation was not somebody I really knew until he got signed. And then
hmm
I started watching his work, and I'm like, dude, this dude's incredible.
Yeah, he's
Like,
nuts. Yeah.
such, with his physique, the stuff he can do, like,
hmm
gnarly and
He's
like
smooth, man. Yeah, he's.
so good. And,
hmm
if anybody deserved that IC title moment at WrestleMania, it was somebody like him.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I mean, you see wrestlers nowadays who don't have a spot on the card that just they'll go to social media and say, I want my release because
hmm
they just don't give a shit anymore. They want to go. And Apollo is somebody just literally sat back, waited, didn't post
Yeah.
anything on social media, even if he was frustrated, didn't show it. And he went out there and just fucking took the ball and ran with it.
hmm
Incredible. I mean, incredible.
Yeah. And I think with what you're saying about like people asking for the release, I think that's also plays into the fact that there's more options for people now.
Yeah.
Like especially like you look like 10 years ago, it was like, oh, we're in the big leagues now, so why
Yeah.
would we complain? Like there's nowhere else. Like this is it. Like if it's only down from, you know what I mean? Like it's
Oh,
only
yeah.
like it's only down, it's only less money, it's only this. But I guess now it's like you can, like there's guys who, obviously there's especially guys who are saying if they they do it right, that they can come and make a decent living off the independents,
Oh yeah, for
where
sure.
it
I mean,
wasn't a
look
thing
at
before, right?
Matt
Yeah,
Cardona. Matt Cardona,
he's killing it. Yeah,
absolutely,
it's great.
100%. And another guy you mentioned just a little bit ago was Matt Sydal,
Yep.
and I've been a Matt Sydal fan for years
Hmm.
before WWE. Like
Yep.
that dude, I think, is one of the biggest legends in pro wrestling. And when he came into AEW and did that shooting star press and botched it, I know people hate
Hmm.
the term botch, but when he messed up that move, people shit all over the guy.
Yeah.
Like they were all over social media saying, Matt Sydal botching shit. And I'm like, yo, dude, people make mistakes in the ring. It's not
Yeah.
perfect. Like
And these
it's
guys who have never like I'm telling you, if you stand like I've worked in like the rings AEW use a lot.
yeah,
If I'd love for these guys to climb on those like the top of those cables, like because they're not rope, they're cable.
yeah,
A little bit of sweat on those, your feet are going, man. So these
yeah,
things, happen. That's as you say, like people are so straight to jump on this, like, oh, he botched his shit. Like,
yeah.
dude, like,
And it pisses me off because he's such a legend.
yep,
Matt
he's great.
Sydal, fucking incredible. I remember back in the day, there was a picture of him on like Google, right? And he had his WWE Tag Team title when he was Tag Team Champs with
Hmm.
Kofi Kingston. And he had this brown leather jacket with like a hood. And I thought it was like the coolest thing ever. Like, and I went on Google, like trying to search for this jacket because I'm like, this jacket's tight. Like, I
Yeah,
have to get it. Like, but man, that side that was so fucking cool, man. His shooting star is so beautiful.
yeah, and obviously people
And
always the one thing people who know Seidel they'll think of is obviously the Randy Orton counter,
oh yes,
which was the big like like just everything like and people think, oh, it's like Randy, but like the execution from like, but it's just stuff like that. And if you go, there's actually a just when it like I remember years ago when I was like studying, like selling and stuff. You do that, when you're kind of in the game. You kind of
yeah.
you don't just look at one person. You got to look at multiple people to see who kind of resonate with you, like in your work. So like, there's a video on YouTube actually. It's a Matt Sydal selling compilation, and it's just his like best sells. And I take like stuff from like him and Ziggler and all that, they're selling. It's like I sit and watch
Oh yeah.
that and like, oh cool, like that's how because they make this, and that's why like people um kind of shout, oh, they just go and get squashed every week. But it's like, dude, like you don't know like how much talent there is, like even making somebody look that good. Like they don't get it. Like it's an art in itself, and those two to me are probably top 10 like sellers if we're talking like that.
Oh,
For sure.
100%. And I think if we're talking about sellers, we have to kind of give a shout out to our boy Chad Lennox because I think Chad's phenomenal at his
Chad is
sells.
shit, man.
I love Chad,
Chad
dude.
is shit. No, Chad is so overrated. No, I'm kidding.
No,
No, I'm
I
kidding.
love Chad, man. He's one of the dude. I remember the first time watching him and just him screaming out the words "I hate it here." Like I died.
Iconic, iconic.
I laughed so fucking hard, and I messaged him on Twitter, and I was like, "Dude, I'd love to get you on my show." Also, I hate it here. Fucking fantastic.
Yes.
Like,
His
and like
yeah.
the
Chad
best.
Chad's and I always like he always breaks me, man. Like Chad's facials in the ring are just like I can't like it doesn't matter. Like I can't like the stuff he does, like when he say he takes like a drop kick and he sells to the outside, he does this
Yep.
thing where you'll know what I'm talking about, where he slowly raises his head so the camera can see his face, and he has
Yep.
that like stupid grin on, and it's just this like
Yep.
it's the
Yep.
teeth one, and he's like, look at dude, like it gets me every time, and he's yeah, Chad's great. Like I love the guy, man. He's like
Oh yeah.
he's
Well, I laughed because there was one match that he wasn't even in, and he was just around the ring, and like the match hasn't even started yet. Like the entrant didn't even come out, and all you hear is a random "I hate it here,"
yeah,
and
he
I'm
just
like,
does.
dude, fucking awesome. Like I tell Chad about that. Like every showcase needs to just have an "I hate it here" from here on out. Even if Chad's not there, just
Just
somebody
someone, yeah,
yell it.
just he just they
You know?
bring him in just to say it off
Yep.
camera, and then yeah,
Yep. It's
just so
just
I can pick it
iconic,
up.
man. You know what? At that point, like if RWA ever had like, and I want to talk about RWA in a little bit
Hmm.
here, but if RWA had like one of those intros that WWE has, like the then, now, forever, where they do
Yeah,
like the whole woo and you
yeah,
can't see
yeah,
me, all that stuff, I would want the first one to be "I Hate It Here" from Chad Lennox.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like
It's just
perfect.
it's the I hate it here that a woo like,
Yep.
it's
You can't see me. I hate it here. Dude, that would be phenomenal.
that's
Oh
joke.
man, we can't tell Chad about that because Chad might actually make an edit of that and just put it in there.
Oh, don't yeah. When give him the time of day, he'll do it. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. And then we'll just see it on his timeline, and we're like,
Listen,
yeah, I just
I'll
gave him
mark
that.
out for it. Listen, no, I'm all
Oh,
for it.
so
That's something,
high.
yeah. I'll download that on every, hard drive stick I've got, just multiple copies in case I lose it. This is
I've thought about asking him if I could just use the him yelling out "I hate it here" as my show's intro. Like
oh, he'll let you do
at,
that, yeah, sure, yeah.
yeah,
Say
just
it, yeah, he'll give you that, yeah.
I think it'd be great. But back to our conversation about your
Yep.
career. Was pro wrestling when you started watching it? Was that something you decided like, hey, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, or was that something that came later?
It's more going back to what I said about like like fight scenes in movies, right? I've always wanted to do like that performance, like stunt work, right? Like I love the idea of like that kind of like especially when it comes to like fighting, right? Because I'm a huge like fight fan in general, like UFC boxing, like love it, right? So I've always like that aspect. I've always been fascinated by like I've just really got into fight scenes and stuff, generally. So I always wanted to do some sort of like stunt performance, choreography, fight scene sort of work.
Yeah.
Um, and then pro wrestling, yeah. So when I started it, it was kind of just like I started when I was 13.
Okay.
So I was like, yeah, right. So it's like you don't really think about careers at that point. It's just kind of like you do it. So I started super young, and then it was only when because I didn't even know like what the indies was. I didn't even know the indies existed until I started, right? I thought it was like WWE, that was it, you know?
Yeah.
And when you're
And that's the
13,
same
it's
for
like, well,
most
yeah,
people.
yeah. So I just kind of, I never really thought, oh, this is going to be like full-time living. I'm going to get here. It was just kind of like I did it because like I loved it, right? And I've always been very, whatever happens, happens. Like of course I have goals and stuff, but especially back then. But um, no, kind of like when I started more learning the sort of business side of it, and kind of learning like the possibilities and the kind of path to get to certain places and what you have to kind of do. That's when I was like, okay, this is possible.
Right.
And obviously the confidence comes with learning how to work properly and having people who have already signed and made it kind of confirm your ability, like because these guys at the top, like them telling you that you're good, they don't get anything out of that, right? Because you're not giving them money every month to go train at their school. You're not doing any of that. So them giving you a compliment, it's like that's legit. That's not like they're not just saying that to be nice. They're not saying it because they want your money. It's like, okay, they mean it. So I think having stuff like that happen really kind of like, okay, no, this is like definitely possible.
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, I know you mentioned you first started training when you were like 13.
Mm.
Was that something like you had to beg your parents to that you do, or was
No,
that
they
something
forced
that
me. They forced me.
really?
Yeah.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, I didn't actually like because you're like a nervous teenager, right? Like you're like when I was teenager, like I'm naturally like super skinny, right? So I've got to do a lot to keep size on, like a lot.
Right.
Um, so when I was like 13, I was like probably like 98 pounds, right? Like 100 pounds, like probably not even that. Like, like I was tiny. Obviously don't go to the gym. Why would I'm 13? Why would I, like so and obviously you see TV, it's like, oh, if you want to be a wrestler, you have to be massive, right? But then I never really thought, well, you're not gonna be a wrestler, you're just learning how to be, like you're just learning.
Right.
So yeah, my mom actually knew somebody she worked with who was mentioning, oh, he found a place to go start training. And my mom knew that I loved it and she knew him and he loved it. So she's like, oh, can my son come with you? And he's like, yeah,
That's
sure. So my mom comes home from work on the Friday and she's like, oh, yeah, you're going to start wrestling training tomorrow. And I was like, what? And then she's like, "Yeah, you're going." And I was like, "Mom, I don't want to do it." She's
That's
like,
awesome.
You're fucking going." So you gotta get out of the house. You can't play video games. Go like, so I go in intimidated as like fuck. Like I was the youngest there by minimum 15 years.
Really?
Yeah. So these guys were like, I'm like under 100 pounds. These guys are all like 230, 240. And it's like, cause some of them were like 7 foot. Like I'm not kidding when I say there was 7 foot guys there, and I was just like, holy shit. And I just
Yeah.
got the shit kicked out of me, man.
That's insane.
Like we were like I learned in a ring like when I first started, like I won't go into the details, but basically the place I first learned at, because when you're young, you don't know like good from bad. You just, like you don't know politics and all that sort
Yeah.
of stuff.
Yeah.
So the ring I started in was made out of car tires, like
What?
like burst car tires on the floor with wooden boards over it, and that was it.
That
It wasn't
sucks.
even a ring. So I was like, yeah, dude, like I'd go into like school the next day just beating up. And
Oh
I
yeah.
actually I hid it, man. Like I never told anybody for years. Like people found out like 4 years later. Like I
That
was
you
doing
were
it for four
wrestling?
years. I was doing it for 4 years and nobody knew.
Yeah.
So because
So
you're
when you
worried
went to
in high
school
school.
hurt, when you went to school hurt and everything, nobody
Yeah.
asked you like what'd you do?
Oh, I had like bruises all over here, and I was just like, oh, I fell at my bed.
Damn.
Because if I told them, oh yeah, I train pro wrestling, they wouldn't believe me. So what was the
Yeah.
point, right? Like there was no point because they wouldn't, because it's like again it's that stereotype of like, oh, you're too small to do that, so you're
Yeah.
lying. So I just left it, and it's just like whatever, it's my kind of own thing. Like I don't really care. Like we're gonna leave high school and I'm never gonna speak to you guys again. So like, who cares?
Hey,
So
yeah.
yeah, basically that was it, man. And it was like it was actually like it was joined, so it was a they had like a pro wrestling, like, well, a custom made homemade wrestling ring downstairs, and it was a Thai fighting like kickboxing gym upstairs.
Yep.
So I learned to bump on like judo mats, dude, like really like thin, hard judo mats, and I'm just like, dude, my still like my because I was still like growing, right, and I was just
Yep.
damaging my back from so young, so that's why like I'm so fucked.
Yep.
Like,
Hey, those bumps ain't a fucking joke, man. They're,
dude,
they're
no.
not. I tell the story ridiculously a lot on my
Hmm.
show. Like I trained out to be a pro wrestler first day,
Oh yeah.
middle of the ring. Like they had us take walking bumps, and like the first bumps they made us do was like we were in the middle of the ring, we just dropped down, right? Second types of bumps they made us to do was like walking bumps from like the corner. You'd walk to the middle of the ring and just fall back. And when I fell back, I think it was the second walking bump I took, my hands didn't smack the mat first. My head just whiplash super hard. And
Got
I ended
to
up
keep
with
that chin tucked, man. Yeah.
yep. I ended up with a severe concussion,
Yep.
and that was the end of my career. I was really looking forward to it, man. I had my gimmick, everything picked out. My wrestling name was actually going to be Paul as well. So that was
Oh yeah.
cool. I was excited, man. I had everything picked out from, my gimmick to my wrestling finishes to like what I was going to do, where I was going to be from. I was going to come out with a Georgia accent to sound like AJ Styles.
Oh,
Like
okay, yeah. Uh-huh.
I was, dude, I was so pumped. Like I would, I remember I was talking to one of my last shows. Like I would take a toy wrestling belt and go into the mirror and cut promos. Like I'll be like, yo, this title's more important than my wife. Like, you know,
We all do
you
it,
know,
man,
I loved it, man. It was so
Yeah.
cool. And I would like pretend to pack bags of like, hey, this is what I'm bringing with me to my trip to
Yeah,
wherever.
okay,
Like
yeah.
it was awesome, but training is so hard. And especially with thin
There's nothing
mats
like
like
it in the
that.
world, dude.
Oh yeah.
Like people say, oh, the hardest training in the world is like boxers or MMA fighters.
Yep.
Like, dude, I can't tell you. Like there is nothing normal about getting slammed on wooden boards and having to get straight back up and do it again and again and again and
Yep.
again and again and having to remember all this stuff and do all like, dude,
Yep.
it's
No,
nothing.
100%. And I watched a video the other day, and it was like a clip I think of Chris Van Vliet show. I don't know if you ever watched his stuff, but there was something that he was talking to Bubba Ray about, or Bully Ray, whatever you want
Yeah,
to
I know.
call
Yeah,
him.
I know. Yeah.
And he was talking about how in a fatal 4-way tag team match, he ended up with a concussion in the middle of the ring, and Jericho was telling him like what to do. Like he's like, go climb the ladder, and
Yes,
he's like,
I
how do
know
you
the
do
exact
that?
clip you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking. Yeah.
And it's crazy because, like you said, you know, when you're in that ring, you're taking bump after bump. And what pisses me off is when people sit there and say, well, pro wrestling's fake. Okay, yeah, you might know who the winner's gonna be, right?
Go
You
take a
might
bump,
know.
man.
Go take a bump,
Like,
man. Exactly,
and
100%. That shit ain't fake, dude. Like,
and that's the thing too. Like people don't understand. It's like if you have the balls to stand still and let somebody hit you in the face, right? Because this isn't like it's okay, yeah, obviously it's not like people compare it to legit fighting like MMA or boxing, right?
yeah,
It's like look like these guys aren't standing still and letting people smack them in the face, right?
yep,
They're it's defense, their hands up, they're hesitant, they're fainting, all that. We're standing there letting it happen. And that
oh
takes a
yeah,
different mindset. And this is the thing, like you have it in you or you don't. There's no in between here. It's
yep,
like you have to have something wrong with you. Nobody in pro wrestling is normal. I can tell you that.
oh
Nobody.
yeah,
If people can sit there and say, "Oh yeah, like I'm pretty," no, you're not. Like you let people beat you up.
yeah,
Sometimes for no
yeah,
money. Like some of these guys do it for completely free all the time, and it's like
yep.
you're not normal. Like
What do they say? A
look,
hot dog and a handshake?
that. Yeah, that's a very yeah. I never heard that on like British scene. That's very like I kind of learned that when I was in America. That was like the kind
Yep,
of the greenhorn trainee like feed.
yep.
But yeah. Sometimes you don't even get a handshake, man.
Yeah, that just the hot dog here. That's all you get.
Yeah.
Nah, and it's crazy because and it bums me out when I hear fans talk about that because they don't know it unless they try it. And I
Dude,
have friends that are bigger fans of like UFC and stuff, and like you said, man, UFC boxers they can dodge that shit, but when you guys are telling a story in that ring, you're getting slapped in the
you get
face, you're
hit, yeah. And
getting
if you
punched,
flinch,
man.
it's one's coming back double as hard. Like
Oh
you don't
yeah,
flinch, man.
you get your receipt. You
Yeah.
get your receipt. I mean, yeah, wrestling, you might know who's coming out the winner before the match starts, but at the end of the day,
Yeah.
you guys have to protect. Like, look what happened to Dante Martin
Oh, dude.
about a month ago. You want to sit here and tell me pro wrestling's fucking fake? Bullshit, dude.
To
I mean,
me, regarding that scenario, that's when to me pro wrestling gets like stupid.
yeah, me too,
Like to me, it's
100%.
like right, no, like
You should
what
not have
happened?
done that.
Obviously, it's awful what happened. Like you don't want that to happen to anybody, but it's like, look, dude, what like you didn't ask for it, but look what you're doing.
Yep.
Like, did
And
you really think like what like did like this is what I mean? Like it's just and what going back to what we said earlier about when the place used to go nuts for a hip toss,
yep.
right? Now you're stacking four tables, doing destroyers from like it's nuts.
Yep.
Just to get that moment, it's like and this is where it's this lost art of people don't know how to create those moments anymore without doing crazy shit.
And that's the thing is like they're
And
and I look at it this way is they do moves like that now to kind of do it like to the throwbacks where like Jeff Hardy would climb up to the top of the ladder and swanton through a
yeah,
table. Like, like people are trying to do crazy spots because it worked before. But
mhm.
like, I'm sorry, a Canadian destroyer off a ladder to four tables, something was gonna go wrong.
I mean,
I can't even sit here and say like, holy shit, what a holy shit moment, because that's a moment, in my opinion, that should not have happened.
and the problem with it is it didn't even look good.
Right. It looked fucked. I mean,
And I'll stand by that. I'm very like I don't. I'll just say it how it is in life now. I'm very like I don't really like hold back with like my opinions because it's like you know I don't I don't care. So when I see that sort of stuff, it's like but the problem you make the you bring up Hardy's thing when Hardy jumped off a ladder, right, and did the
yeah,
swanton. One, that was his iconic move, everybody knew.
yeah,
Two, it was for big moments, so it meant so much, right? It was like
right.
it wasn't ladder matches every week. He wasn't doing that every week. You didn't
Yep,
see it all this crazy shit every week. It was just like, oh, it's a big pay-per-view. It's the holy shit moment of the match. And that
yep,
was the moment, right? But the problem is now they'd start the match with a swanton off the ladder and then
yep,
they'd go into more and more and more. But instead of building to that moment, they just it's just filled with this just mess, crazy shit that means nothing, and nobody
Oh yeah.
cares. Yeah,
And,
cool. Like
and
the huge supermarkets will give you that kind of holy shit and stuff because they feel they have to. But if you break it down, there's no talent. It's like there's no like mindset like that. To me, is like you are like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like it's trying to use the right words. It's a lost art now, and there's so much. And the problem is people see that and they think it's acceptable,
yeah.
especially the guys who want to start trade. Like, you know, and back. Sorry, I'm kind of going off track here,
No,
but
you're
but
fine,
it's
man.
coming
We
in
got
back
time.
to the point where we said the difference between like the problem is now that there's so many like fans are in the ring, right? And this is the difference because when we talk about like protecting what we do, and I'm so passionate about this. People you'll know the difference when there's two fans in the ring and two pro wrestlers in the ring, right? Watch a match between two super fans who just want to get there and tell their friends that they're a wrestler, right? You can see it, the structure, the way they're hitting, like the way they're taking, but like all of it is like you can see the like the passion between like pro wrestlers and fans who are in the like you can just see. Like
Oh
obviously
yeah.
all pro wrestlers are fans, right? You know,
Yep.
but when you're solely that fan who gets an opportunity to go to ring, is like you can tell they don't
Yep.
care. They're in it for themselves, right? They're in it because you know they oh I want to do this cool move for my Instagram or I'll, you know like they want their own little highlight reel. They're not doing it for the fans. They're not doing it for the product. It's like it's just it's this thing, and I see it so often, and it really like kind of gets under my skin. Like dude,
Oh
like
yeah.
you don't know the half of it. Like, and I can't tell you. Like, obviously, like you're not kind of in the scene for like especially like the schools and stuff. But when I say like the guys now have never had it easier when it comes to like joining schools, and this isn't every school. Like this is
Oh yeah.
like a lot of them because and I'll tell you this the problem with kind of where it kind of all went wrong is schools now, a lot of them, this isn't all of them by any means, this is just like a lot of them, they realize they can get their money from students and not shows.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, we get 50 students a month paying $60 to come train here. We don't need to worry about ticket sales.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That was like, oh yeah, come in. Oh, you're a wrestling fan, come in. And if they take a shitty bump, what are they going to say? Oh, that was really good because they want them to come back next week.
To
You know?
just to give them more money.
And
Yep.
that's the problem. And when I say they haven't had it easier, like and they want to keep them happy, so they can't even work yet. You know, they can't even work. They can't put on a decent match. They can't even lock up properly, and they're getting put on shows.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that's you know it's such a problem because that reflects on like the business as a whole, and that's kind of where I stand on it. And places I go, like you know I've taken a few seminars like here and there, and help coach some places because like the minds I've kind of had in me, you know, like it's I've had so many great minds in the business tell me things that I can help other people with.
Oh yeah, for
And I
sure.
just preach it, man. Like it's stuff like that. It's like, dude, like you've got to like you're rather in as I said earlier, you're rather in this or you're not. Like you can't come in here and be
Half-assed.
shitty. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
And you see that a lot. I mean, I think you see that a lot more than, and like you said, you can easily tell.
yep.
You can easily tell who's in it because it's something that they love compared to, even if it's just being in it to be selfish or for themselves, some people are in it just to make the money. They don't give a shit about, how they feel about us or.
And and that yeah. And that's what I think that's more like the subject of like when you look at like your kind of influencers coming in. I don't know if you're getting at that point.
Yeah.
Um, but if people think they're going to come in and make money on the indies, they're wrong.
Yeah.
like, like you don't make money on the indies unless you are that like star, right? Like you're Cardona's, you know, like you're
Yeah.
Matt, like that. Like he's making good money on the indies. He even said it himself. I'm pretty sure he said he's making more on the indies than he was when he was signed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, like I'm 99% sure he said that. But I mean, yeah, I mean, especially like your point of like people coming into it, like I guess like you're Logan Paul's, right?
Yeah.
He's not a super fan of wrestling. I don't care. Like he like sure like he said he watches it with a kid. Everyone did,
Yeah.
right? Most people did. Um, he's seen the fat paycheck on the contract. He's got the influence. Sure, he comes into it. Is he have this diehard passion for it? No. Is he good at it? Yes. Like, but that's the difference. That's why like I'm not too concerned because he is taking it seriously, right?
Yeah.
He's not one of these guys who doesn't give a shit. He's getting the money, he's leaving. He's putting
Yeah.
on like
Awesome
great
matches.
stuff. And this is the thing, people can shit on it, but look at his work and compare it to 95% of the matches you see on the indie circuit and stuff.
Yeah.
For his like fourth match, like sure he's got like Shawn Michaels and stuff coaching him, right? So it's like it's different, but two, it's like, dude, doesn't matter who's coaching you. If that's your like second, third, fourth match, is like you can't even tell me that it's not good. It's fantastic.
Oh, 100%. And it's funny because they just they just added the Buckshot Lariat to WWE 2K23.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And you see Logan Paul do it. We all know Hangman Page does it. It's funny because before that ever happened, before Hangman ever started doing it in older WWE games, what you used to be able to do is flip into the ring.
Mm-hmm.
And that would be one of my moves is I would flip into the ring and run at him with a clothesline. So and people sit there and they're comparing all the time, like, hey, who's Buckshot's better, Page's or Logan Paul's? And I'm gonna say, man, it's crazy to say this out loud, but Logan Paul's has so
Yeah, it's
much
better.
more oomph to it.
There's
I
not
don't
that
know.
delay. He goes like straight into it. So he lands and it's boom.
Yep.
Where like Hangman is like he lands, there's like a little bit, then it's like a boom. But like even the
Yep.
I don't know, but I don't know if that's the athleticism, I think, side of it too. Like, just that natural, like just that little difference, it's genetic difference, I guess.
And
That's
it's
all it
crazy
is.
because
But
I hate Logan Paul, man. I hate Logan Paul. He's a fucking douche. I can't stand the dude, but
you can't see he's a shit wrestler.
he's not a shit wrestler,
No, he's
man.
not. He's
I
good. He's good,
I
man.
wanted to sit there and say he was gonna be shit, right? But you know, after watching him, in his first match, I'll say this. I wasn't as impressed as everybody else was. I was impressed, but I wasn't like, oh my God, best celebrity ever. You
His
know,
first the tag match at Mania. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
I wasn't super impressed. But then when he wrestled the Miz one-on-one, I was like, okay, this is better. And then when he went in his match against Roman, I was like, he killed me. No ifs,
Yeah.
ands, or buts. And then the match he had at Mania was Seth. I think that was top three best match of the night. Our best match of the weekend because Seth and Logan killed it.
Yes, sorry, I'm just remembering the Mania one as I go through it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
no, it was one of the top three best matches of Mania weekend for WrestleMania. I Paul and Rollins chemistry just was on point.
I think Rollins, like, because Rollins is so good, man. Like he understood the kind of
Yeah,
he always understands the assignment, but like he's so good. Like he knew exactly the way to structure that to
yeah,
showcase Logan. And that's when it's that next level of match structure and that storytelling. It was exactly what it
brilliant.
had to be.
Brilliant. It was
Yeah.
awesome. But yeah, no, man, crazy. I mean, it's just I know we got from taking bumps to where wrestling is
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah, it
that.
just
And,
goes off. Yeah.
and it's just like, man, anybody that says pro wrestling is fake, first off, fuck you. Because if you're
It's a
not doing
work.
it and you ain't trying it, don't fucking say
Yeah.
it's fake.
But that's the same thing. Again, going back to the fight scene things, yeah, movies are fake too, but you still watch them and go, that was cool, man. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's the exact same thing.
And,
It's choreography, it's selling, and it's a
right.
performance. So
And it's crazy because somebody just tweeted this the other day and I seen it on Twitter and I was like, I really want to be an asshole and respond to this, but I'm not going to waste my time. But the dude goes, anybody that watches two grown men wrestle in a ring, you're gay. And I'm like,
tell
fuck
me,
you,
okay,
dude.
okay,
Like,
but tell me how me watching that means like I'm attracted to the opposite sex.
right. Or same sex, right?
Like, sorry,
Yeah.
yes.
Well, Paul, come on, man.
Dude, listen, don't cancel me, please. Jesus Christ.
No, we won't. We won't. We're good.
No, you know what I mean? But yeah, these people who just throw out words like that is like, right. So you don't know what the word means, but okay.
Right.
I
And
don't
it's
know.
crazy because I've been a fan of pro wrestling since I was a kid. Like you said, we all watched it when we were kids, right? So what are you telling me now? Like I was gay when I was a kid because I liked pro wrestling, something that
Yeah,
we
it's
did as
not
a
even
kid.
like people just use words. They don't. They just People just use words because they
It's
think it
so
fits. It's
stupid,
the
man.
people are dumb. I mean, yeah. I mean, it's not exactly like when you when you break it down, you can't really argue that it's the straightest thing in the world. Like
For sure,
when I
right?
say it's like, what am I doing? I'm wearing spandex. I'm topless with another man. I'm rolling about, we are on top of each other, to be fair,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least you
Um,
guys aren't pinning each other like Rhea Ripley's pinning women. You know what I'm saying?
that's another subject, that's just, yeah. Moving on. Moving on.
But yeah, no, I mean, and it is people that say shit like that, man. It just blows my mind. Like, you guys, what you guys do is art to me. Like, it's
Yeah, it
absolutely
is.
art.
Yeah.
And
When it's done properly, when
throwbacks,
it's done properly.
right.
Yeah.
And there's so much chemistry, right? And sometimes that certain wrestler has that same, certain chemistry with certain wrestlers, and it just explodes.
Hmm.
Would you say out of your wrestling career, was there anybody so far that you've had that specific chemistry with that you just blew the roof off that match, that you constantly would love to work with? Anybody specifically that is like stand out?
There's a couple of guys who like we've just had one-offs and it's been like holy shit, like there's a guy called on in the UK scene down south, so like England area. Me and him, his name's Billy O'Keefe,
Okay.
and he's been doing it a couple of years, but me and him, I had the TV championship at this company, and they're like, oh, it was a couple of weeks build. We're like, oh, we need a main event. You guys are main for the title. And just the way we clicked, man, like when I no word of a lie, like I have the quotes for people from people who were at the event. Me and him had a 25-minute main event. People, there was grown men crying when they were leaving the building. We got a standing ovation. We got all the chants, you name it. It was simple storytelling, no crazy shit. His finish was a swanton. I hit my neck breaker fit. Like that was it. It was just this pure, just back, that kind of like, and again, it goes back to people just don't see that stuff anymore, right?
Right.
Like it's just that stripping it back, doing the basics, having a solid structure, some like solid story for people to follow. And I think that like when you're in, it's like when you actually feel it in the moment when you're in that ring with somebody and like the place is going nuts, you feel the atmosphere and it's like, oh shit, this is great. Like I love
Right.
this. Like I love it. And just everything just was just perfect, right? And people were saying, oh, 7 stars, all that stuff. I don't really care about ratings, but just still having people say it is, it's still cool. Um, and yeah, he was great, man. And I know me and him, give us time, we could tear it up any company in the world. Um, there's guys, it's weird, like there's guys I know we'd have great chemistry. But that's when you kind of talk about like dream matches. But that's just one example there that I can give you, which is like, yeah, of course there's I'm trying to think of anybody any names you'll kind of have heard of. You know what, as well, like I loved this was behind closed doors, but I worked a match with Abaddon.
Okay.
Just like we were just feeling each other out, clicked with people like her. Me and Chad clicked as well.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
me and him wrestled each other. Pretty sure we had COVID. Me and him wrestled each other, and like we had like a double down, and we were just like we couldn't breathe. And we are just like coughing up like shit, and we're just like, oh. So, but people, yeah, people like that, man. I'd love to run it back with Lucas Chase as well, singles,
Yeah.
because there was something between me and him. Because just like with the timing of like the story we had to tell, and we only had a couple, like that kind of filming time, and that was it. But
Oh yeah,
and we're
for
kind of
sure.
feeling each other out. But there was something there too. Me and him would have like a Michaels Bret Hart like classic, like that kind of
Oh yeah.
hard hitting style. We'd bring in a couple of more stuff in, so he's another one. Yeah, like
And
um,
Lucas Chase, I mean, dude, he's so fucking good too.
he's
It's
gone so much. He's gone so much better since I worked him too.
oh
Like
yeah.
so much better. Like, he's killing it, man.
Oh yeah.
Look at the
Seeing
names
him
he's working now. He's
everywhere.
yeah, he's working like Jay Lethal and stuff now, and oh, what's his name? It's late for me,
He
so
just
the
wrestled
names are cut.
Rhino,
Deji Drake, to work with him and
JD
stuff, and
Drake. Yeah.
yeah, so guys like that, Lucas is killing it, and he's gotten so
I'm
much better, man. He's
I'm
he's
proud of him, man. He's killing
oh
it.
yeah, he's yeah, totally.
You know. So as far as your name goes, Paul Hubris, I know you've
Yep.
been wrestling for a while, even before the RWA. Were you always known as Paul Hubris? Did you ever have any other
No,
names
I no,
beforehand?
I think it's just like finding what works, and especially like I kind of like I was wrestling for, let me think here. I was wrestling for, well, in the business for about around like 8 years before RWA.
Okay, yeah,
And it's weird, man. It was just kind of like I was always, even that whole time, it was just trying to find myself, trying to find like, right, what is it I actually want to do? Because one day it clicks, and some people they know instantly and it works instantly, but other, it's one of those things. It just kind of takes time because it's one of those things, especially when you're looking at like character and stuff, is like you're rather going to be somebody totally opposite to who you are in real life, or you're going to be yourself times 10.
yeah,
That's kind of like, what with the way a way to look at it. So I guess it was just like in where I was prior to making the move to America and everything. It was always kind of like, oh, you're going to be a face.
yeah,
It wasn't really like, you just kind of did it. It wasn't really because I didn't know anyway, right? So I wasn't going to say, oh no, I want to try this. I just did it. Um, I wasn't Hubris. I was basically just my like shoot name.
yeah,
Um, but like I've kind of like removed that because I don't want my family and stuff to get involved. Just like people,
yeah.
fans are weird, man. Fans are weird.
Oh, 100%.
Um, so and I wanted like I didn't know what character I wanted. I didn't know what to really do because the time that kind of period of time, especially kind of like this was like pre-COVID. I was getting diagnosed with like eye disease and stuff. I had doctors telling me, "Oh yeah, you're going to go blind." So in my head, I was like, "Well, there's no point because I'm fucked. Like this is it. Like
Yeah.
I can't wrestle blindly." So you're telling you this stuff like mentally. I was like, "This is what I mean." Back to like the beginning, like I kind of like like I know when you the way like I don't know exactly how you're feeling, but I get what I mean. Like I get like the struggles of stuff, and yeah, dude. Like I had that period of time where I just kind of like shut down. You remove people from your life. Like you just kind of
Yeah.
you cold shoulder people. Like you don't necessarily mean to, but you're just kind of like that. You just go to that
Closed
kind of
off. Yeah.
dark place, man. Like I was like, dude, I was like when I got like diagnosed with this eye disease and stuff, dude, like basically that kind of started to kind of down like mentally like didn't give a shit. Like I was just like there's no point being motivated because there's no point having these ambitions when they're not going to be a reality.
Right.
All this sort of stuff, man. Like I was breaking down and shit all the time, like at shoot job and stuff, dude. I'd be like fucking broken. Um, and then obviously like after like COVID happened, and that was actually a good time, the whole lockdown period, whatever. Um, that was a good like reset time for me. It was like because there was no wrestling, there was nothing, and I thought I was done. I thought that was it. I'm not going to wrestle again and all that. And then basically a miracle happened, and then that's when I was getting back into it, and I was like, okay, like no, like I'm not done here. Like what the hell was I thinking? I was done. Like no, like but I knew I couldn't go back to where I was, right? I knew I needed this total reset because I wasn't happy before. So I was like, no, we need to like total reset. So that's when the RWA came up. I was like, screw it. And then that's when having that time, that long period, like 3 months where all life was go to the gym and wrestle. That was it.
Yeah.
And just not worrying about anything else bar that. And that's when I found the gimmick I wanted, like the characteristics, all of it, the name, like it all just was like resonated. I was like, yes, 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 this is what I want.
So you found that all through the RWA?
It wasn't through there. They never. It was just kind of like I just sit on like I'd just be sitting like chilling or in the gym, and an idea would pop in my head. They never gave me any sort of idea. Like I kind of had it already because I basically to get to America at that point, I couldn't just fly straight in because of COVID and
Right.
stuff, right? They wouldn't let people in, so I had to go and fly myself to the Dominican Republic in the Caribbean for 2 weeks and live there for 2 weeks on my own to be able to get into America, right? Like they had to quarantine myself. It wasn't really a quarantine. It was nuts, dude. Like I've got so many stories from that. Like, oh, anyway, right? So like I was like held at gunpoint and stuff, bro. It was nuts
No
there.
shit.
I thought I'm gonna die. I'm not gonna get to Dustin School. Like,
That's
like,
crazy, man.
dude, it was nuts. So eventually, yeah, I got there, then I'd be sitting in like the hotels and like just like trying to distract myself for 2 weeks, and all these ideas would come to me. And it was actually during the when CM Punk came back.
Yeah.
It was that I was in the hotel when that happened, and then all these things just flooded, and that's kind of like how I got everything
So
just during that period. Yeah,
how many names did you cycle through before you landed on Paul Hubris?
one.
One. What was the other one?
No, that was it. It was this
Oh, that
one.
was it. Okay.
I literally, basically, like I kind of wrote down. Basically, my whole character is me times 10, right?
Right.
It's just because it's just what comes naturally, and I can just amplify it and piss people off. Like um. So it was, yeah. I'd searched up words beginning with H. My like shoot last name. I was like, okay, like the literally it kind of goes right. It kind of rolls off good. Searched up a bunch of words which kind of matched the demeanor I wanted to go for, and then I just kind of was like going down the list till one clicked. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, cool. Copy and pasted that word. What does it mean? Oh, ego, like your persona. It's like the whole like mindset thing. It's like someone's hubris. Okay, do. Perfect, does it. No one's got it. I can brand it. I can do the whole hubris philosophy, which is like, it's my opinions and I don't give a shit about that sort of thing. And it works. And the
Yep.
whole, I'm very like, I wanted the name to be, you knew the story as soon as you heard the name, right? It's like you knew
Yep.
what it was about somewhat before I even had to open my mouth. And I think that's
Yep.
like, it's almost like it's quite good branding if you think, like having that. And the essential thing came with like, again, my goals and objectives for the business, right? It's like the essential is like, no, like you need me here. Like you don't understand it, but like people like me are going to become a dying breed,
Oh, for sure.
and that's like, it's thing, and it's genuine too. Like, I don't really, people can have their opinions, but it's genuine. Like I know if I'm on a card, you're going to get a solid match. The fans are going to love it. They're not going to sit scrolling through TikTok. They're going to be watching
Yep.
it from start to finish with constant engagement, constant entertainment, constant action. We're not going to
Yep.
do too much. It's not going to be this crazy shit, but you're going to watch it.
Oh, for sure.
And that's like what I do. And in the companies I go to, it's like, again, there's video footage. I'm not just talking shit. I'm not just bigging myself up. Video footage is the loudest matches of the night.
Oh, yeah.
And
No, for
and and
sure.
and, and and it's the work I'm doing now is, again, it's because people don't see it anymore, so they react to it and they love it because it's worked from the beginning of time, right? It's worked since the beginning. It's not going to not work.
Oh, for
Like you just
sure.
you just have to change a few and adapt to current times, and change little things. Like you can't, for example, like just sitting with a chin lock in right now. You used to be able to get away with sitting with a chin lock in and working that for a
Three,
period, a
four
longer
minutes.
period of,
Right.
right? And people were loving it. But now, because people are, their attention spans completely broken because they're sitting on TikTok, and they can't even sit through a 3 second video, right? So you just have to change it. So now if I'm working a chin lock, I'll do things in between, like I'll stretch their face out and give them an elbow on the side of the head to keep
Yeah.
them going, like, oh shit, like to keep them reacting.
Yeah.
I'll lock it back on. A couple of seconds pass, I'll talk some shit. I'll put my thumb on his jaw, wrench his face, like stuff like that. People react to it because they can picture themselves in that scenario.
Yep.
And this was said, I can't remember what podcast it was, but it was said on something I was listening to a couple weeks ago. The problem now is not many people watch wrestling and go, "Oh shit, I can do that." But before, 90% of people watching were like, like, screw that. That looks sore. I don't want to do
Yeah.
that. And that's kind of lost now, right? It's because everyone watches it and goes, "Oh, that looks easy," or "Oh, I could do that." Oh, they're not even hitting each other. Like,
Yeah.
it's a thing, and that's where like the fan base goes too, because everyone's just like, oh, they all know it now, so there's no point trying. Like, no, screw that. Like, let's go back.
Yeah.
Like, let me give them that kind of, let people be fans again.
No, for sure. And
And that's
it,
kind of like, where I say the essential thing. It's like, I don't
they
know. It's
need
just
you.
it's there. Yeah, it's like you don't know it, but like I promise you, like when you pay money, you're going to get that money's worth there and then. Like it's.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny because, when you did the RWA in that showcase match, and I want to talk about how you got to the RWA, like
Mhm.
how that story came about, like how you got your involvement and how you got there and stuff like that. But when I first seen you come out and I seen the promo that you did before the showcase dropped, and I was
Mhm.
like, okay, like this guy could talk, man. And I love a good promo. Like when it comes down to me, for pro wrestler, it comes down to the way they look, the way they talk, and what they could do in that ring.
Yep.
Those are my number three things.
Well,
Like
they
if
are.
you have that, awesome. And like when I listened to your promo, I was like, man, this dude could talk. Okay. And when you came out, and I got that like old school wrestling vibe from
Yep.
you. Like, not, I'm somebody that's going to go out there and do flips and shit. I'm going to go out there and fucking do a knee drop or, gauge the eyes or what I like. And I got that feel from you, like old school heel vibe.
Yep.
And I was like, this dude's fucking incredible already. And I haven't even watched his match yet. And like that entire time in that match, man, I was like, this dude's a star. And like, how have I not heard of Paul Hubris before this?
Because
Like,
the name debuted then.
yeah. And it's
Everything
crazy
debuted then.
because
It was a total
like,
restart. Yeah.
Chad came on my show and I did not know he was a wrestler before. Lucas
Yep.
came on my show. I did not know he was a wrestler before.
Mm-hmm.
When they said that you are a wrestler for a couple of years and you've had experience coming into that show, I was like, okay, cool. And I looked on YouTube and I didn't see shit. And I was like,
you wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't.
I was like, damn, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
Like, I want to watch his matches. Man, and it's cool that you mentioned your one of your finishers, that neck breaker, the double underhook swinging neck. Dude, beautiful. Like it's such a solid move, right? And like, I mean, did you get that idea from somebody or did you come up with that on your own?
I wanted, so I'm very like, I will never do something everyone else is doing, right?
Right.
Because what's the point? Where's that going to get me? It's not going to get me anywhere. So I need that like nobody is using that I have seen in the world, right? Please, link me something you see somebody using my finish, like, and I don't know if you see my recent YouTube now, but I do a lot of like their feet are on the ropes. I put them in that cradle, pop them up, spin them. I've got loads of different ways I can put, and that's the thing. I can hit on anybody because I know there's so many ways I can get bigger opponents into it instead of popping them up and going through with it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's variations, of course. Like people do the cradle, they pop them up and they kind of come into it and they set out. But like the way I kind of do it with like the cradle, the legs wrapped around, you kind of can work them in that kind of like submission hold, squeeze them. Then it's that pop up when they're past it. Like I've got loads of like variations of it. Like it can be hit anywhere, which is good. And it's also me and Shauna Reed's tag finish is a variation, which is quite cool. You don't see it's like a
kind of like the magic killer type thing.
Listen, it's a way better magic killer. I don't care.
Oh, for
like,
sure.
It looks way better.
Well, because you have the double underhook, so it's even
Yeah, and the way she comes down to and drills it, I'm pop for it anyway.
Well, I pop for it too.
Yeah, so no, like I think I seen some variation. Like it was years and years ago. I think it was the first season of Lucha Underground, and I can't remember the names of some of the guys they had there, but because they were all workers, but in gimmick, right? Like different characters. Right. He had them in the cradle. He popped them up, spun them out, and sat out in like a kind of variation of like a
Michinoku driver.
Yeah, it was weird. I was like, okay, cool, I like that, and I did that when I was like, I just practiced it in like training against a couple guys. I was like, okay, whatever, it doesn't mean anything, right? I'm too small to hit something like this, So I just put my mind, whatever. And then when it was, here's a funny story. I'll tell you, right? So, we were at RWA and we're just practicing like finishers, right? Seeing, okay, what do you want to like kind of use as your finisher? I did the underhook cradle thing, popped him up, span him out, and Dustin seen it and goes, "I'm stealing that shit." Right? he then does it. He tries to do it on Dark the next week, and he fucking botched it. And he comes to me the next day and he goes, "I'm sorry, I tried to steal your move. I fucked it. I won't ever do it again." So
hey, at least
right, cool,
it's something that he thought.
So, he loved though. He was like, God, like, because it's kind of like his front your suplex spin. It's like
the final cut.
Lots of like, it's the mechanics are different, but it's the same concept. It's up and it's a spin, right? So and even I showed it to, I don't know if you know a guy called Joey Legend.
I am not familiar. No,
he was in I think he was called Just Joe when he was in WWE for a little bit. He's good friends with like Edge and Christian and stuff, but he's big in kind of Europe. He's Canadian, but he did Japan a lot as well. But I showed it to him, and he fucking was like, "I've never seen that in my life." The way I was kind of the variations and stuff. So I was like, "Okay." And again, back in my mind, shit, just pull out when that opportunity, and because I was like putting on size and stuff, and I was like, okay, I can actually hit this now, and it's so unique, especially on the showcase. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is cool. This is like going forward, this could be something solid.
Oh, for
Um,
sure.
so yeah, that's kind of the origins.
And I love it, man. It's probably one of my favorite finishes because I haven't seen it in anybody ever do it. So
Mm.
it's such a cool, innovative move that at first it looks like, all right, maybe he's going to take him off the ropes and go for a butterfly suplex, but you didn't expect the turn
No,
afterwards,
and
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 like,
what I love is when I'm working a guy who uses a slingshot spear,
yeah,
because I know the finish now. Go for your slingshot spear. I catch you, cradle you, your foot in the ropes,
yep.
boom. It's one of those like out. It can still be like an out of nowhere thing, right? And I think like it's cool. It's one of those like it is that like anytime it can still happen,
Watch
which is
out,
quite
Johnny
rare.
Gargano. Paul Hubris is going to come from a WWE crowd and catch you.
Um, Listen, brother, need that visa, you know.
No, man, but I love it, man. The finish is just so tough. Like it's so awesome to see that because, like I said, I didn't expect the torque. Like I didn't
Yep.
expect the turn, and I was like, "Damn, dude, that was fucking beautiful." Like, and I'll praise a move like when I see it. Like if I see a move and it just has that such a beautiful
Hmm.
flow and shit, like I'm like, holy crap. Like, I talked to Chandler Hopkins. I don't know if you're familiar with Chandler Hopkins at all,
No,
but
sorry, I don't know. No.
he wrestled on the indie scene and he's got a beautiful shooting star press. Like his
Hmm.
rotation is so beautiful. And I'll tell him all the time, like, dude, most beautiful shooting star press. I will tell you right now, your finish is probably one of the best finishes I've ever seen. And
No, I appreciate that. It's a big
it's
statement, man. Big
dude,
statement.
it's awesome. It's awesome. I love it. So I want to ask you this because you are the first over the seas wrestler that I've had on my show.
Yep.
Um, I want to know what really is the difference between fans from overseas and fans in the States. Because you see it on like WWE, right? Like the fans overseas are just like they're more entertained and more involved. And that's
Yeah,
how I feel it, all right?
I think.
So
Yeah, I think what it depends, right? Because you're the fans at the big events. Well, it was the fans that go to these big events, right? That happen are your diehard passionate because it's so rare for these big things to come here, right? Because it doesn't happen. So especially like the Clash of the Castle pay-per-view, right?
yeah,
It was nuts because it's the first big event the UK has seen since I think it was like a summer. What was it, a summer? I can't
they
remember.
said like almost 30 years.
Yeah, right. So it was huge, and I think more so like the I think just like the kind of personalizing crowds and the way like fans get behind it here. But I can tell you that's not your average indie show. So
Okay.
so don't watch that and think that's the crowd, right? Because that's your occasion crowds. Is probably
Okay.
what I'd refer them as, and that's yeah. So I wouldn't really don't think crowds here are like that because it's like no, it's just the crowds come to like the huge events, right? Because that's when you get those, not because it's like that atmosphere, right? It's that like
Yeah.
they're here for like a good time, it's like a party, you know. It's like it's the full thing. But your average indie show isn't really like that. You do like companies I work for, like there was one I did in London, just under a month. It was actually the day of night one of WrestleMania, so April 1st. Yes, April 2nd. April 2nd. April 2nd,
Okay.
right? Place was nuts. It was like that. It was like holy we came out and it was like 20-minute match start to finish. It was like holy shit, you know. So you
Crazy.
do get that like those crowds that you know that you guys would have seen.
Oh, for
Um
sure.
yeah, but and I think you know when I work the indies in over in the States, I'm trying to it's not necessarily different. I just go about it a different way because I am from overseas. It's like it's I don't know. They still react to the same stuff, and it's just that change because I'm the foreign guy, right? So I've got to you got to go about things differently because
Yeah.
they're not instantly going to love you, right? Especially like if you're wrestling like Ohio, right? They hate you. So like God, I hate Ohio. I hate
Well, we
Ohio.
fucking hate Ohio too. So.
I cannot. I honestly I hate Ohio. Like I will. Right. Anyway, moving on. Sorry.
That's why Miz isn't from Ohio anymore. He's from
Yeah.
Hollywood, California.
No. Yeah, dude. I was. Yeah, I'd change too. Um. Yeah. So stuff like that. Like yeah, it's just it's how you work them. End of the day, right? It's how good are you at getting them, and if you're good enough, you can get a reaction anywhere you go.
Oh, Oh, for sure, man.
And I've done a lot, man. I've been about in front of every type of crowd, like, so I pretty much know what I'm doing when I go out. I'm not really ever awkward or stuck, or it's never quiet.
And watching your matches, man, you could just tell how comfortable you are with what
Yeah,
you're doing. You know, you could tell that there's no, hey, I'm not going to let the crowd, or I'm going to let the crowd get to me. You could just tell that you're going out there, you're doing your job, you're doing it how you're supposed to.
Mhm.
And it's so pure, man.
Yeah,
Like I said, I've watched a lot of British wrestling. I've seen a lot of, people from Scotland do their thing as well. I've watched a lot of people from England, all over the world, right? And people like Doug Williams,
yeah.
from like
I know that.
incredible wrestler.
I've Doug. Sorry, I've done a lot of seminars with Doug.
It's such a throwback, right? And like watching you kind of gives me that Doug Williams vibe. And I see it for some reason. I'm like, yo, dude, this is the first time I've seen a true throwback again.
Hmm.
You watch FTR and they're a throwback to
Yeah,
tag team
love them,
wrestling.
love them.
You
They're so
watch
good.
Gunther and he's a throwback to
Yep.
powerhouse wrestling. Like you come out there, man, and you just have that presence that's like, I'm gonna come out here, kick ass, and then fucking leave. Like I'm here to do my shit.
And I think that's like what comes back to a lot of people kind of I've noticed now, like when the crowd are giving them shit, they rather don't acknowledge it, or they kind of like don't really know what to. They kind of just give some response like, "Oh, like shut up," back, right?
Yeah,
Needs to be more than that nowadays, man. They want it, so I give
yeah.
them it. Like I attack their financial situation. Like I attack, dude. I go when I'm telling you, like I go off, like it's nuts, and the place goes insane. Like even like it gets to a point now at companies I'm regular at, like they don't even announce my name yet, and they're already doing like their non-essential chants. They're like boo
Yeah.
me already, like all this stuff, and I love it. Like I need that. Like I just feel it. Like it's one of those things, and I think too, like just before confidence was always an issue. Like the first kind of almost say the first kind of the starter of my career. Like I'd say my career started after the RWA because that's when I really found what I was doing right. Um, so ever since then, and like the people I was in the ring with, and people what they were saying, like your top guys, were saying to me again. I knew it was real because I wasn't paying them anything. I was working with them, so I knew it was genuine, and that really gave me that confidence to like, okay, no, you're like, you know what the fuck you're doing, so go do it now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's like going into every match now. It's like I don't look at if I'm on a show with like a card and like there's top names on. Like I've been on cards, with guys who are like NXT UK. I've worked with guys NXT UK before. I would have been shitting myself. I'm like, oh no, like I don't have a chance of looking good compared to these guys. But now I don't give a shit whose name's on that. I'm fucking going out there and I'm having the best match on the card. And that's
And
the mindset, man.
that's
And it's not
confidence,
even
man.
like, and I don't even say that to it's not even about like I'm selfish because I will know my position in the card, right? Like I'll
Right.
know if I'm second on a card, I'm not going to go guns blazing and have some main event caliber, right? I can have the best match of the night without it being main event caliber style structure.
Right.
And that's like again, it's lost, man. Like it's just it's so it's a confidence thing, and people can call it ego, whatever. I don't care. I don't care. Put me in there with anybody, and I can go like with anybody, and um,
Oh, and you can see it, man. Just on the matches that I've watched on yours on YouTube and shit.
hmm.
Like you can see it that you go out there and you put your all into what you're doing.
Oh,
It's
100, like
incredible.
yeah, I would never not give it 100, ever. Like
Incredible.
I
I
appreciate
watched
that.
a man and I'm like, like I said, true throwback in my opinion. You go out there, you don't do super flashy shit. You
No,
go out there, you do your shit. You have a great match. You do it at a not a super slow pace, right? But you do it at a pace where people are like
they can
paying
follow it.
attention,
Yeah. Hmm.
right? And that's what we need more in wrestling. And I think that's what more of the Armada's about too. Like, right. And like you guys all kind of do your own thing. And it's nothing super fucking flashy.
Mm.
And I think that's why I love the Armada in general. Like, and I respect the hell out of all five of you because what you guys do is just like on a whole different level of incredibility. Um, Now I know you mentioned earlier that you've had shows where they wanted you to work babyface, and I know now you run as a heel
Hmm.
mostly, right? So would you say that heel work is 100% what you love more than being a babyface?
Yeah, like the thing is, I I'm very like the way I struck like so the way like go into like structure and stuff now is so like a lot of the guys I work, they kind of when I lay out a structure of like match and like show them a different perspective, like that kind of stripping it back perspective. A lot of them like because being the heel, I'm in control of that, right?
Right.
Like heels in control mainly, and it's just that kind of that kind of like different way to think about things and like the realism aspect. So doing that as a baby face is near like impossible because I'd have to explain to them what like that kind of new kind of structure and stuff that I
Yeah.
can't control because I'm the one taking the heat or whatever, right? And not um being control of the pace. So especially with my character and stuff now and just the way I can talk, I'd be kind of like you wouldn't get that like that kind of I'm trying to think of the word. It's just I just think you get the full 100% best version of me to make money as a heel, right?
Right.
Like if you want the fans who are paying you, the promoter, make me heel, and I promise you they're going to come in 100%. They'll be like, that was great. I've not wasted my money here. As a baby, it's more different. Like I don't have a natural baby face, right? Literally, like I'm not one like you could like you would look and go like it's kind of like I'm putting it on. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, no, definitely.
I'm trying to be a good guy here. And it just doesn't really like naturally come to me. Like sure I can do it like I know how to work it and there's places I've been a heel but I've got cheers because people no matter what people get behind people who they like as a talent, right? Heel or
Oh, for
not, people
sure.
love to hate you, that sort of thing. So um babyface it's just not really for me. Like I know I can the way I could elevate a baby face for a company, like if you want a top baby face, give me them, and I promise you, I will make them that.
Oh, for sure.
That's like kind of what I would like to think I can provide places, and everywhere I've went, I've done that. Like it's not even like I'm not saying like I'm not the one saying it. Like it's just the way it is. So whatever the mindset I'm going into things with, it's working and it's paying off. So
And the natural heat that you get too, and it kind of reminds me of I don't know if you're familiar with the NXT at all, but Rip Fowler, before he was Rip Fowler, his name was Zach Gibson.
yeah.
And when he
Oh
was
yeah, Zach. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
Yeah.
when Zach Gibson was wrestling in the UK and stuff like that, the crowd would chant like, "If you hate Gibson, stand up!"
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. Of
and they
course. Yeah.
they hated the shit out of this
Yep.
guy. Like that's the kind of vibe I get like when the fans are listening or coming out and you're coming out and shit. Like when the fans are interacting, like I get that heel heat from you from the crowd, and it's such a cool aspect because like people always look at heels and they're like, man, he's such a good heel, but I love him. Like if you're getting heel heat, you need heel heat to where people are like,
Of
I
course.
can't stand that son of a
Hmm.
bitch, but like people are talking like how MJF now, like the crowd is like all behind him and shit, like, and he's not getting that natural heel heat where Dominic Mysterio is like getting booed out of the fucking
Again,
building.
Dominic Mysterio is the next Miz,
Oh, for sure.
and people can look that like look they found something now. He's proved he can make it work. This is what it is now, and I think it's fantastic. Sorry, I just wanted to say that before
And it's
you
funny that
carried
you
on.
mentioned that
Yeah.
because I remember back when the Miz first started, everybody
Yep.
hated the guy.
Oh, he's so
Nobody
good,
liked
man.
him.
He's so good.
And it's funny because when he
Full
first came
package.
out and he's like, I'm the host of the Diva Search or whatever, I was like, dude, this dude oozes charisma. Like
Yeah.
there's just something there. And then when he started wrestling and shit, and he would come out doing like the little fucking head motion that he would do or whatever, I was like,
People hate him. He's
I was
great
like,
because
man,
he's
you
so
could
annoying. You want to punch him. Yeah.
right, like, and then he was on the chick magnet, like, dude, every fucking
Yeah.
thing he did,
Yeah.
I was like, that dude is a star. Watch. And then he elevated the IC title. He
Hmm.
fucking just took off, man. And it's funny because people are like, man, Miz fucking sucks. But I guarantee you now, nobody fucking says that.
No, what they say is Miz is boring. Like what? Why?
Yeah.
Because he didn't do a 450 4 times. Like, and this is the problem, you know? Like
Look at
people
it
aren't
though.
recognizing.
Never
Like,
been injured. He's never been injured, man, because he's safe.
show me a really terrible mismatch. Like I can't really think of like they're very few and far between, if any, right?
Right.
And again, people need reminded. Like, look what he did with Rollins
Yep.
the other
On
day.
Monday.
People were shocked about it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like,
He's
why?
been doing
He's a
this.
worker, man. Like he's great.
And people, here's the thing: people look at it too, like, man, Miz sucks because they're making him lose the Snoop Dogg. No, because Miz doesn't need the wins.
He doesn't because do you know why? Because he gets it. He
Yes.
understands what it is, and that's the problem now. There's so many people in the business working who don't get it. They don't
No.
get it. Like people come up to me like because like they know like I'm not one, like people come and ask me, especially newer guys, like, oh, like just for like little feedback things if I watch, right? Because um I'm not saying like I know better, but people ask me, so I'll say, and I asked them, why did you end your like you hit a DDT within the first 60 seconds?
Yep.
Why did you do that? And they just go, because it's a cool move. And I'm
Yep.
like, dude, that's a finish. Like, and this is the thing, like, and again, it's just conditioning that they don't get it. Like some people just don't. And again, as you're saying, the point, people will bitch and moan about, oh, why would the Miz lay down for Snoop Dogg? He can't even hit the ropes. Snoop Dogg is a better improv worker than 90% of people on the wrestling scene. Most
Yep.
people would see that go wrong and they crumble. Snoop went in there, popped them with 2 shots, hit the ropes, hit a fucking people's elbow. He played it like even little things, and you can't teach this. He didn't have the elbow pad. He played it, but he used his like shades instead.
Sunglasses and through that.
Dude, that is
Yep.
like, I'm sorry, but that is like that's a worker, right? That is
Yep.
somebody on the spot can work. I don't
Yep.
care. And that is people, again, that you have that or you don't. You can't, that's not something that people can train you for, right? Like
Yep.
like nobody told them to do it. It's like you rather have it, you don't. And there's people I see on the scene too. Like especially when you've kind of done it for a long time and you've had all these different minds and you've trained so much, you can instantly tell somebody within the first like 3 minutes if they've got it or they don't.
Yep.
Like you can, if they get it or if they don't get it, like you can just eventually tell with just little tiny quirks and stuff. Um, yeah. What were you saying? Sorry, we went off and I'm lost.
No, we were just talking about the Miz and how the Miz can
Yeah, yeah.
literally work with everybody, and people shit on him when he loses to like guys like Snoop, and it's crazy because
Who cares?
Miz is fucking incredible,
Hmm.
incredible. The massive balls thing can slow itself down a little bit, but other than that,
Preference.
yeah, I guess But other than that, I mean, Miz is just so fucking good, dude. It's crazy because like I said, people first thing shit on the guy, and then I just watched this video, and it was like a backstage between him and John Cena, and he's like, I remember when I first came in, you gave me props and you helped me, and he's like,
Hmm.
now people are coming to me asking me, for advice, and I'm like, dude, Miz was just so genuine, and watching
Yeah,
his Miz and Mrs. show and shit like that, seeing how the kind of person he actually is, like, dude, he's just such a down to earth person,
yeah.
and
You
it's
could.
crazy, you
For
know.
sure, man. Like that's the thing. Like even the locker room was so shitty to him at the start. The
Yep,
kicked him out, had to change in bathrooms for 2 years or whatever. I can't remember how long it was, but then Taker
yep,
let him back in and all that's it. But then he's just doing it, man. And that's yeah, that's the thing. You can rather. That's the thing. That's when it's not a fan. That's when it's a pro wrestler who's staying. A fan would have left,
yep.
right? But he's like, no, I am a fucking pro wrestler. I'm staying here. This is it. Put up with all the shit because he was going to prove a point, and he did. Imagine he left. Like
And look at all the talented guys that have come and gone inside WWE. And here's Miz. Like John Morrison, huge fucking star, right? He
mhm.
should have been world champion. They gave it to the guy that everybody fucking shit on, the Miz, because
Mm.
why? Miz had everything,
Yep,
you know? True workhorse, man. True workhorse.
absolutely.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Um, Now we talk about your pro wrestling journey. We talk about how you had a different persona, different name, everything before the RWA. Let's talk about your journey into the RWA. How did it come about for you to sign up, register for it? How your time was getting there? Let's talk about your journey into the RWA.
I think well, yeah, going back to what we said earlier, there was that it was that point of like I need to do things differently now this time. Like new mindset, like I really got to like just switch it up. Like we can't go back to where we were before because we know like I knew I wasn't happy. I knew it wasn't for me. I knew the atmosphere wasn't for me. The politics weren't for me. So I was like, yeah, no, like I'm gonna have to do things differently. I'm gonna have to do like my own thing, really, right? I'm not. I need to kind of not have like a. There's no point just going what we've done before. So it was something I honestly cannot remember how I seen it. I honestly can't remember how I seen the advertisement, but I just remember screw it. I'll just send it in, see what happens, right? And then it was I can't remember how long. I can't even remember how long after because like I did it and actually nearly like forgot about it, right? And then just sitting there, just relaxing one night. It's like later, it's like 11 p.m. because obviously time zones, right? Like 11 p.m. My phone rings, says, "Oh, it's a number from Austin, Texas." I'm like, "Who's this?" Answer the phone. He's like, "Oh, hey, buddy, it's Dustin Rhodes." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Like, but I'm very like I'm weird. Like I don't I see everyone as people, right? So I don't necessarily get starstruck. I'm not like that. I don't really
Yeah.
view people. That was just the way I've been since forever. But I was just like very cool. I was like, "Oh, what's up, man?" They're like, like just like, "Oh, what's up?" And he's just like, yeah, I've seen your stuff. I've looked you up. I really want you out here because we can do something with you." I was like, "Okay, yeah, cool. Like, sure." Um, Basically gave me the dates. It was like this was like a good 6 months in advance. So it was like a while, and because there was a lot of complications with being from Scotland, there's visas, there's again like the COVID require like the
Yeah.
having to go isolate. So I'm like, right, this is going to be like a 4 month trip, right?
Yep.
And I was actually training like me and like my friends like we rented because all the gyms and stuff were closed, so we rented out this like just this garage like monthly. Like we just found one, we were paying it. We built our own gym in there. We were like training boxing and stuff all the time. So like I stayed conditioned and like I had all that, and I was like, right, okay. So just amped up like the training stuff to go over there because I knew like tech like I live in the cold, man. Like it's cold here. It's like in your guys' temperature probably like average 50.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, like it like average like 50, 60 about that. Um a lot of the time. So it's cold and Texas is like 115, right? Like
Yeah, big difference.
so I'm like I'm gonna die over there. So we would like shut the doors in this garage and get it all like a sweat box and just
Yeah.
like train cardio stuff just to like I was just like fuck it, I gotta do this shit, man, because I'll like die over there. So um do the whole I'm in the Caribbean, it's hot, like so I'm training there, I'm getting conditions, like, okay, cool, do all that, survive somehow. Like, dude, when I landed in the airport, in this place called Santo Domingo, and the fucking cartel were at the airport,
Shit.
standing next to the police, both with guns. I'm like, this place is corrupt as fuck. Like, I got off the plane, I was like, shit. Like, they're not gonna help me. They're good, like like
Yeah.
so, and I don't
Fuck.
speak. I didn't. I'm an idiot. I didn't like research anything. I was just like, oh, it's the Caribbean, right? It's palm trees, it's beaches, whatever. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. So
Not
I
so
land. So
much.
long story short, I landed in the wrong airport. So I was on
Oh
the other side
shit.
of the island than where I needed to be, where my accommodation was. The flight landed at 1 a.m. Right? No,
Yep.
there's no such thing as Ubers there. There's nothing. Nobody spoke a word of English. All Spanish, and I
Jesus.
don't speak Spanish. And during COVID and stuff, there was no tourism or anything there. Nobody was going there because you couldn't fly back. It was like all one-way flights. So I was like, well, that's me. I was the only white non-Spanish person probably in the country, right?
That
So
sucks.
I stood when I say I stood out, right? So I was getting eyeballed, like I'd get like vans pull up and open their doors and be like, come at like, dude, like I was like in hiding for 2 weeks. Like I was like
Jesus.
it was rough in the cartel and stuff were at the airport. I was like, I'm screwed here. Managed to get this like private car, probably the only safe car in the country, right? On the island to take me 4 hours to the other side. He didn't speak a word of English. I never spoke a word of Spanish. We had Google Translate and we're communicating with Google Translate for like 4 hours. He was a huge wrestling fan, so he just started putting Edge's theme song on the radio, and I was like, "What the fuck?" So I messaged him like I got the Google Translate up and I showed him it and he's like, "Oh, WWE." Like so me and him just like were trading like wrestling theme songs for 4 hours and that's how we were communicating was through like wrestling, which was cool, man. That was like, okay, this is pretty sick, like, like proper travel story shit. So
Yeah.
eventually get there and then when I was actually got to like was like finally it's up I'm going to Texas now, that's it. My it was like I flew from Dominican Republic to Dallas, Texas, then I had a connection from Dallas to Austin. Basically, when I landed in Dallas, I was interrogated because they thought I was like because I was like again, it was like I was coming one way off this plane that was coming from it was just one of the places a lot of people come over because it's like where Haiti and Haiti and stuff is. So a lot of people
Yeah.
try and come over for work and everything. So they didn't know who I was. I was the only white person coming off these planes, right? During this time. So it's is is what it is. Got interrogated. They stripped my bags. They were questioning me. I had to basically, dude, I had to like put a case out. This is what I'm doing. Like, thankfully, I had like the contracts from RWA and stuff with me because otherwise I wouldn't have got in. Like, I had it all laid out here. So,
Shit.
it missed my flight to Austin. Had to spend the night in the airport, and the next flight wasn't until like 12 p.m. the next day. So I had to spend like 36 hours in this airport in Dallas, no sleep, no food, because everyone was closed, right? There was no restaurants open. So no sleep, no food. I landed about an hour before the first class,
Jesus.
straight from the airport to Dustin, sleep deprived, no shout, like nothing. I was like, I feel awful. Dustin's like, oh yeah, warm up, full deck of cards, go in this like fucking heat, dude. Like, but I couldn't look like a pussy, I had to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Dustin kind of seen the way I was doing my roles and stuff, and he used me as a demonstrations the whole time. So I was like getting bombed, like getting fucking stretched and shit by Dustin on the first day, and I'm like, well, you can't sit and cry about it. This is it now.
Yeah.
So, dude, when I said I had the worst like start could have possibly happened, and then yeah, then from there it was great. Just getting into rhythm with it, going back to basics. I fell in love with the basics, man. Like stripped it right back. Like I fell in love with the basics because of that, and I just love it. Yeah, that's
That's awesome though.
it's
I
a
mean,
start.
that's definitely the most interesting story I've heard about the journey to RWA.
Yeah, most people. Oh, I took a flight. I drove 4 hours. I
Right.
fucking
I got a
wish.
call. I showed up a week later. Like
Yeah, no.
yours is yes, and gunpoints and all this other shit.
When I say I had to travel the world to get there, literally, man, I was in Germany and stuff, getting connections, dude. It was rough.
That's crazy. But I mean, shit, man. Your first showcase match, you get added into the RWA championship match,
Hmm.
right? Right off the gate, man. You just something was there. You ended up winning the title. You second ever RWA champion.
Yep.
The man that never should have lost the championship. So let me ask you this. So was it really a
Yep.
COVID issue that
Yeah.
made you
So yeah, basically they changed the requirements to get in. Um, so you couldn't fly in unless you got certain things, blah blah blah, blah, right? I have,
right?
different opinions. So I was like, right, okay, I can't get in the country. Um, so yeah, so Dustin said to me, because I understand it's like your whole showcase thing is like you gotta have your title on it. They happen once every 3 months. I get it. I understand the business. I'm not gonna cry about it.
Yep.
Um, it's like, okay, yeah, cool. We can set something up for like the future or something, that we can do me and the winner or something like that, right? Wasn't
Yep.
really kind of fussed. So he's like, oh yeah, send in a promo for the whole thing. So I went to the airport and I pretended they would let me on the plane and shit. Like I actually sent in like a 2 minute promo because they're
I
like, oh
seen
yeah,
that. Yeah.
because they're like, oh yeah, like send in like it can be like 2 minutes. I was like, okay, cool, I'll use the time. Sent in a 2 minute promo, they cut it down to like 25 seconds. I was like,
Yep.
shit.
I
So I
seen
was
that
like,
shit.
I was doing cool shit, man. I had like the plane ticket and stuff. I was ripping it up. I was like, actually, I went to the airport to film the promo.
Yep.
Planes in the background. There was like planes taking off. I was kicking my suitcase. I was going off. They cut it down. I was like, whatever. Like whatever.
It still
Uh,
worked. I mean,
yeah, is what it is. So yeah, so technically still champion, technically not, but because that's the thing. I wanted to work um Slim one on one
yeah,
and drop it to him, man. That's kind of like because we got like close and like we were gonna do we were like going out and doing reps in like the parks and stuff when we were living there at the same time, and I was helping him out and stuff. We were doing that stuff. I was like, man, like I'll like I want that kind of like sort of like caliber match where like we do this and I drop you to like give you that platform and stuff. He's like yeah, it'll be really cool, and then things happen the way they did. It's whatever, you know.
oh for sure. And it's funny because we seen after you lost the title by
Hmm.
forfeit or vacate, however you want to say it, because you technically never lost the title. We seen another champion come out, and in the following showcase, we seen another champion come out, which was Slim.
Yes.
And Slim ended up being the longest reigning RWA champion in history. Um, After he won the title, you came out and attacked him, which saw Dustin Rhodes come out,
Yeah.
and you go one on one against Dustin for a minute. You were the first person to go against Dustin in RWA like
Yes.
that.
It was always
So
planned. That's what I wanted.
tell me
It
what
was
that experience was like. Obviously, Dustin had to have some kind of connection with you to realize, like, hey, this is the
oh
guy that I want this.
he was the one that what yeah he was the one that suggested it because
That's
I
awesome.
said we were just talking about like story and stuff and I was like well have me open the show. I'm pissed that I'm opening when I was like well I never lost it. I should be in the main event against Slim, right?
Yep.
Or um I can't remember, sorry, I can't remember the guy who was champion after me.
JPH.
Yes. Um have me like maybe like because we were talking about it being like a triple threat with us three, and I was like, well, I mean, I don't, yeah, I'm not really kind of fussed, so I was like, have me open the show with Ollie. That story is I'm pissed, like lost it, whatever, blah 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 blah. Beat Ollie in the opener. That's pretty clean. I was like, right, that's why I'm the champ. Leave, right? People think it's done. Have the main event. Have Sal have his moment. But the thing, the building up to it was because Sal is homegrown. Sal never trained before. Sorry,
Yes.
Slim never trained before. But yeah, he's got his Instagram is
Don't
fine.
call him his shoot name,
He
okay?
has it on his Instagram. He doesn't care. He'll be fine, whatever. So Slim was like homegrown, so Slim never trained before. He was like Dustin. He only learned from Dustin, and that was it, right? On paper. So I was like, and obviously, Slim loves Dustin. He looks up to him as like, like oh, it was great. He marks out for him and shit. So,
Yeah.
so I was like, well, Dustin was like, we need to do something. So I was like, well, why not? I fucking come in. I hit Slim. Beat the shit out of him. I'm pissed. Oh, you think you deserve to be the champion? Well, you didn't actually beat the true champ, so you wouldn't have that if me and you went one on one. Simple storytelling, right?
Yeah.
I love the basics. I go to hit him with the belt. Dustin comes in, swipes it. Dustin took the belt off me, so I'm like, you want to disrespect me by taking that off me? I'll disrespect you. Just shove a a legend,
Yeah.
shove a Rhodes guy. People, it's easy heat came back, had his little like moment. He wanted it to be longer, man. Like Dustin was like wanting this whole like Kevin Owens, Stone Cold Steve Austin WrestleMania thing. I'm like, dude,
It turns into a match.
it's too, yeah. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's too. I was like, no, it's like it's Slim's moment. Let's just keep it like little shine thing. I'll powder. Have that closing moment that you like the teacher coach is handing the student the title. Having that, there you go. There's like you're like my guy. Here you are. Boom. Like that's like the moment to close the show, right? That's like a good happy go home thing.
Yeah.
Um, Simple stuff, man. So that's all it was, and and that's the thing. Like someone like Dustin, right, is like it's that whether you like it or not, it's only like a matter of time to how long these guys can go for. And there's so many people who wish they could have matches and stuff in moments, and having that like 90-second segment, little bit of working a little bit, doing a little thing, getting that feel like that's like more than you can ask for, right? With
Oh
these
yeah.
things because they're they only have so many matches left in them, and
And not
they'll
everybody gets to work with somebody like
no
Goldust,
God no
Dustin Rhodes,
and again there's a lot of the guys up there they're selective, so it's again it's that like oh you trust me, it's that like you trust me, you've been, especially with the name and stuff and everything he's done,
Yep.
it's like, yeah, it's a huge moment, whether, as huge as it is in 90 seconds, it's still like a thing which is like you can look back on, and it's like it's rare. People can't
Oh,
say that,
100%.
So again, I've worked with both the Rhodes brothers, it's cool. Like not many people can say that.
Right.
And I especially like for where I come from, because I was the first person from Scotland to appear on Dynamite, which is something I'll die with. That's, nobody can take that. Again, working Cody on Dynamite is like, oh, it's great. And then obviously having Dustin the next kind of tour around is great. So it's like, okay, both the Rose brothers are like I don't know, it's just like a thing, which is cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure. No, definitely. And, having that moment, because like I said, you were really the only one so far that has had that like back and forth segment with
Hmm.
Dustin Rhodes in RWA. And it was cool to see that, especially number one, it was you, because like I said, I mean, you coming out there, man, just natural ability, like natural heel heat. Chad brings it on himself, obviously, right?
Yeah.
But
Ch-
you
ch-
just have that natural heat coming to you, like, it's so cool to see that, and like you mentioned, it was like a KO Austin moment where here comes Dustin, and you
Yeah.
were the
I,
bad
I
guy.
don't think anybody actually knew either. I think only us kind of three and Chad knew, like the other students and stuff, they didn't know. I don't think commentary knew either. I think it was just
Yep.
like a thing. So everyone was like, if you watch it back, you see the people around the rink and it'd be like, what like what? So it's
Yeah,
like, yeah.
I
Um,
love that moment though, man. It was awesome to see, and I was actually surprised because I would have thought that after that happening, the following showcase it would have been you versus Slim for the title, the way it built up, but it ended up not being the case.
yeah, no, I think it's more like they want somebody who's in that camp to go for the title. It's that like because people will complain, being like, "Oh, I've been here for that. This is our time now," so they kind of
Yeah,
keep it
yeah,
within that, which you understand. It's the way the business goes, which is totally fine by me. Again, I'm honored, and I've always got like a place there. Like always, like I'll always represent them going
oh
forward
no, for
because whether I
sure,
like it or not, like going there changed my life, right?
right.
It gave me that perspective, it gave me that confidence, and it's like, it got me so much better, man. It really did, and generally couldn't recommend it enough to anybody. But yeah, no, so exactly, I'll always represent them, going
And it's
forward,
crazy. So will I, because it's crazy that I've become probably like the biggest Rhodes Wrestling Academy fan,
Hmm.
right? Like, I don't miss a showcase. I watch all you guys. I do the same for the Nightmare Factory, but the reason I love Rhodes Wrestling Academy more is because not only do you guys have titles,
Yep.
but it shows your guys' social media names and stuff on there too. So I get to follow you guys and see what you guys do next
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Post. Yep.
Instead of having a hardcore search for wrestlers off of the
Yeah.
Nightmare
Yeah,
Factory,
dude.
like,
You have to
you
listen
know,
to commentary and stuff and try and figure out the spelling of
yep,
names and shit. Yeah.
yep. And I love I threw it out there in a tweet. I was like, the only thing I wish Nightmare Factory thing did different was at least put their fucking Twitter tags on there, because then that way I could follow them
Yeah, yeah.
and get them
Uh-huh.
on my show. But I love doing this shows with you guys because not only do I get to tell your guys' stories, it gives people an idea of who you guys are,
Hmm.
right? Like when I did my show with Chad, no idea Chad wrestled for years prior before RWA. Same thing
Yep.
with Lucas. Same thing with you. Well, I knew you did because they said it in the
Yeah, I'm pretty
showcase,
sure. Yeah.
but it was like it gives people this platform like where you get to tell your story and stuff like, and it's cool, and I build these friendships and relationships with you guys as well, because I give you guys this platform and we just connect and have these in-depth conversations instead of just like, let's talk about that one match that you had.
Yeah,
I want to talk
exactly.
about your
Yeah.
story. I
Yeah,
want to
yeah, of
talk
course.
about where you came from, what
Hmm.
originated, stuff like that. And it's
Everyone's
such a
got a
more
story, that's the thing.
right. And it's such a more impactful thing because we could talk about a match, right? And we could talk about that in depth for 20 minutes, but we could also continue to tell stories like your story about how you got to the RWA and your traveling issue and stuff like that.
Mm.
Like that's such an interesting story that we wouldn't have heard if we just sat here and talked about a match instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know, um, but it's really cool to watch you guys, and you guys stick out so much to me. Like you did, Lucas did, Chad did, Shauna did, Slim took the second showcase. I will say that the second time I seen Slim to actually catch on to me, because he came up the first one and he was like this skinny kid. And I was like,
Oh,
I
yes.
don't know, man.
Against Chad. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, okay, yeah, he could wrestle. I wonder what he's gonna be like in the future. And then the second showcase, he came out and he had a little bit more muscle to him, and I'm like, okay, this kid's gonna have it.
Yeah,
And then
it's just
like,
it's back to what I said. It's just finding yourself, man. Like it takes time. Again, it's just that's all he was doing. He was just finding it, and the stuff he's doing now. Like I mean, well, look what he's doing. Like it's night and day,
amazing.
right? It's night and day.
Yep,
It's like um yeah, and that's I even said it to him too. Long as he stays humble and disciplined and doesn't get the ego, he can make it, man. Like
oh, and I don't think he
he's
will.
got
I
it.
think he is very
Yeah,
humble. And it's crazy because I
we
watch
keep
his
him humble.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's all you can
The
do. In
Armada
the
keep him humble.
Armada,
It's
you
cool.
got to keep
We
right.
won't let yeah. We got him. It's like
Right. But yeah, no, man, and it's crazy because I watch it and I'm like, yo, he has that it factor to go far. Slim is going to be one of those big breakout stars, and I love watching what you guys do because I see Shauna comes across to where you are, and
yeah.
you guys get to do your thing, and the Armada is just kind of like all over the place, and seeing you come to the States, do your thing. I would love to see you guys all five together in a promotion.
Dude, we're trying, man.
It's hard.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing
I
because
get it.
me and Sean do the whole UK scene. Like we kind of like that's the whole thing. Like the Armada, like the whole sort of like idea of it is, it's from all over, right? It's
Yep.
kind of that thing from everywhere, kind of coming together. So,
Taking over the
um,
world.
yeah, basically, yeah, your ships coming from all over. So that's what we kind of hold down the UK thing because there's four massive, scenes. It's UK, Japan, America, and Mexican. That's your kind
Yep.
of wrestling if you think of it like that.
Yep.
So we're kind of keeping the UK kind of side down. We're doing it very like we're not just kind of going all out there and just kind of like we are so selective about what we do.
Yeah.
Um, Especially because the idea has to be like a certain thing. It's not a squash. It's not like a squash act. It's not a and that's not like an ego thing. It's just for like objectives we have going forward. So we're still like selective, but the stuff me and Sean have been doing in the UK too, like it's been great, man. People fucking hate us.
Oh,
Like it's like the heat at some places are nuts, like just insane, which is great. And getting to do that with her is also fantastic. Because again, that's the thing. That's what's great. We all met there, right? We all came from different sides of the world. We all met
right.
there, and like it was like that. We clicked. So, um, and each of us have a different style and different attributes and different characters, and it all gels. Like Sal's that young, kind of up and coming, arrogant little shit. Shauna's the hot American bitch.
The psycho. Yep.
Yeah. Josh is the kind of like the more comical like side of things, and Lucas is your old school kind of meat and potatoes, like gritty kind of
Oh, for sure.
that style. And I'm kind of like a bit of like everything that kind of combat sort of. It's like that. It's all different. We all kind of bring
You're
something
that
different.
throwback. That's what I'm
Yeah, well, yeah,
saying,
it
man.
really, yeah, is that kind of thing, and that's why like um again like and I'll say this now like someone like me, like if you're looking like comparison, it's like I like to look at Anthony Henry.
Yes.
Um, Me and him, he's probably the dream match right now.
Anthony
Honestly,
Henry.
yeah.
He's
M-
so fucking good, dude.
Me and him would fucking kick the shit out of each other. Like what I'm
And
saying, like
it's
he is the most underrated talent on this planet.
yes.
He is
It's crazy
and
because
it actually annoys me.
I've made him on almost all wrestling games in the past.
Mhm.
And when he got signed to WWE, I was so fucking pumped because it was somebody who deserved that chance
Yep.
to shine. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, after he got his release, I was like, I've been a fan of yours for years. I would love to get you on my show. And he said, yeah.
Yep.
And like, I was like, you don't get starstruck, but I do when it
Yeah.
comes to
Yeah.
this. So I was really cool about it because I was like, dude, this is fucking incredible because I've been a fan of Anthony Henry's for so long. And he's, like you said, such an underrated talent,
Dude.
right?
Top three for me. Just
Oh, easily.
right now. Just
Easily.
and and that's where like I know me and him would go at it because it's the same mindset, the realism aspect, the storytelling aspect, that hard hitting, that legit fight feel. Like me and him would genuinely like it. I just know it like that we're talking about like people we gel with. Like I know for a fact, like me and him, if we somehow that could get set up and just it would genuinely be like a blockbuster, honestly. And he is just such everything about like put him with anyone again, like top guys, like him versus Daniel Bryan would fucking sorry, Bryan Danielson,
We all know him
would
as Daniel
kill it.
Bryan. It's
Like
okay.
man, like I'm telling Anthony Henry is just it's just all his stuff, man. Like it's just you again, it's annoying, like it's annoying. Like I'm happy he's signing stuff with AEW. He's getting a higher platform, which is great. But just that extra little, that extra little bit to just like really showcase him.
And what's
Uh,
really upsetting about him and JD Drake is the fact that how fucking talented they are, that they're not, and we all know this is the truth. They have not had many wins in AEW, and they fucking deserve it. They deserve to get wins because they are fucking
the
great.
thing is, if you want a money match, right? Like something like forget your like quote money draws, right? If you want a legit wrestling match, which no matter who you are in the world, you can watch it and go, that was great. Workhorseman versus FTR, right? Just
Hands down.
done, right? And you watch it and you'll see actual wrestling, you'll see the throwbacks, you'll see the hard hit, you would see a bit of everything, and it'll be absolutely fantastic. And
Yep.
again, because it's like, well, they're not going to do crazy shit, so we won't have like this is what like this is what people like don't get. It's like what just because they won't put each other through flaming tables and no sell it and do move on to this other crazy shit, they're going to go back to like it's like I don't know,
It would
and
be a
it's
hardcore
frustrating.
throwback
Oh,
tag
dude, it'd be
match.
fantastic. It will have everything, and they're all four guys are great workers too. Like it,
It's incredible.
so
I mean,
stuff like that. That's why I get frustrated, man. Like that's why, like I don't really believe in the whole company war things and stuff. It's just like eventually, it's like, oh, enough's enough now. Let's let's show, you know what I mean? Like, because like people like some people see it and some people just look the other way because they see their favorite and they only care about what they're doing and stuff, which is fair, it's just fair enough. But there's
well, I
just
will
guys,
say
man.
this: Anthony Henry. I mean, epitome of workhorseman because when he was on my show, he was at the gym working out. So I mean, it shows that his grind never fucking stops.
Jeez,
Like
man. Yeah.
such
And
an
he's put on some
amazing
good
talent.
size too, man. He's grinding on the bog, man. He's looking great. Both of them. JD's looking great too. Like it's just they just fit, man. It's just this weird, like the dynamic's great, I think, and it's like I don't know. Yeah.
So much talent, man. So crazy.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you one more question here before we get going here.
Yep.
Um, the Armada, how did you get added into that group? I know you guys said that you clicked like from being where you guys were
Um,
and stuff like that. How did the approach come for you to be a part of that?
I'm pretty sure it was like the way it kind of started, it was all like it was so I'm trying to think. It was I think what we're doing it is like everyone who like held like the title, who was like there, like it was like not everybody, but at that time it was like, it was me, then Slim won it, and then Lucas already had it, and then Shauna was the women's champ, and we were just kind of like that. And because we were like the way they were positioned out in the States, they were all dotted around in different areas, so we could cover a larger area. I was in the UK, and obviously we all got on, right? It was like that, like this would work, and it was that
Yeah.
idea. And there's not some story to it, to be honest. It was very simple, like here's the idea. Are you down? Looked at it. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Plus, it keeps us all connected too, and it keeps us all related to the RWA and like that. It has that like sort of like it has its origin story, like that kind of like going back. Like if you go back on the timeline, it has a starting point. It's not just random people who came together. It all meant something. It was all like
Right.
we were all chosen to come to this place, and then we branched out from there, sort of thing.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I mean, like I said, I mean, you guys all have that factor. Like, you guys are all killing it. You know, and like you mentioned, you guys all have your difference, uniqueness that brings you
Mhm.
guys out more, but it works and it gels so well together.
Yeah.
I believe you guys are the first faction that I've literally have tried to buy a shirt from each person. You know, I'm like, you guys are the first faction that in a long time that I have sat here and I'm like, dude, this faction's incredible, and it's just getting started.
Yeah,
I
that's the thing. It's just the whole logistic side of things, like us being able to do things together, right? Like it's just we're dotted everywhere, and it's so much more complicated than people think with
yeah,
dates and track. Like it's nuts. Um, that's why like kind of we're kind of getting better now. Like I'm over in the States going forward pretty much every second month for a chunk of time too. So
that's
it's kind of
awesome.
going to be like a month here, a month there, a month. So we're
Back and forth.
yeah, so we're getting there, and then that's when we can really start laying down like what to do. Because the thing is, Slim's still in Texas, Chad's now in North Carolina, I believe.
Yep.
Um, Shauna's Tennessee, and Lucas is more like the East Coast. So it's just trying to like find a place, that's like has 5 spots on a card. Dude, it's
Well, hey, Black Label Pro Wrestling in Crown Point, Indiana. They
where did
should
you say
listen to this.
Indiana?
Crown Point, Indiana. They have a
Uh-huh.
promotion called Black Label Pro Wrestling. If they're looking for a great faction, the Armada is always out
Easy,
there.
tear it up,
Absolutely. Hey,
done.
I mean, shit, that's only 15 minutes from my place. I would love to see you guys live and
Oh,
in
dude.
person. You know, I,
Get the big team
anytime I,
photo, 6 Armada
oh,
shirts,
for
stand.
sure. Well, I told Chad this. I said, I'm just making myself an honorary member of the Armada because, you
Sure, like
know,
like kind of like when Hornswoggle joined DX.
right. Except, I mean, I'm not Hornswoggle, so I mean, shit.
Yeah, how tall are
He
you? Like
isn't.
six
He
two or
isn't
something?
6'2". Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Hornswoggle's a great guy though, so
Yeah,
whatever. But yeah, I'll be Hornswoggle of the fucking Armada. Like that's cool. I'm
yeah. We'll
cool
write
with
you a
it.
little storyline where we have to go to Little People's Court or Big People's Court or something. I don't know.
Big people
Yeah,
score right. Like,
something.
oh
Yeah, I don't know.
shit, 6'2". Okay, fuck.
Yeah, you're
Well,
probably taller than all of us,
yeah, for sure, for sure. But yeah, no
so
man,
it's like the opposite. Yeah,
I tell Paul or Chad that all the time. I'm like, dude, I'm an honorary member. He's like, I guess, staying in his character. But no, I joke with Chad all the time about that shit because I truly am the biggest Armada fan. I told him what I want to do is get a picture of you guys all individually signed. I'm still waiting for that picture, Chad. If you're listening to this,
of course he is the big
but
Mark.
he is a mark for sure.
He is.
He'll sit there and hear this part and he'll be like, I hate it here.
He
But
hates it
yeah,
everywhere. Yeah, I don't blame him.
he hates it everywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, I told him that I want to do that and I want to get it framed. And then I want to buy a second Armada shirt and frame it in the middle of your guys' pictures that I have personally signed by
Oh,
you
that's
guys and
sweet. Yeah,
have like an Armada like shrine.
yeah.
Because
That's
like
that's
I
sweet. Yeah,
said, the Armada forever.
that's it, my man.
But yeah, no, man, I'm really excited to see what you do for your future. Like I said, I'm a big fan of what you're doing. You're absolutely killing it. Um,
Appreciate you, bro.
let's ask you this: what is next for Paul Hubris?
I think I have something in the works right now which could gain attention from people who go, oh, this place is doing stuff that nowhere else is. This is good shit. And I have these goals for it. I'm not going to say stuff, but I really there's certain things I really think I can put places on the map, and it's coming to now. So there's
So in the
that.
near future,
Yeah, like I think we could really make it like a worldwide. I need to watch this online thing, which isn't really done. It's that other alternative televised thing. And also, well, again, I'm back in the States this time next week.
awesome.
Um, I'm back there for a month. Me and Sean are gonna go work a bunch of places. We got some stuff lined up. Just kind of see what comes up there too. And then yeah,
Do
just
you
kind of
think we might get to see you in OVW?
I can't say nothing right now, dude. Like,
Mum's the word, huh?
listen, there's one I'll say this, there is one thing that is stopping it, but it's not a difficult fix. It's just legal shit, man. It's like the state of Kentucky is just a nightmare. That's all I'm gonna say, right?
Well,
Apart from that, soon as that's done, then you have your answer, you know? Like,
well, hey, I look forward to it, man. I've
yeah.
seen some big people that I've become friends with that have been through the doors of OVW
Mm.
that's still working them.
I have been to OVW. I've been there. My last tour actually. It's just license legal shit, but you know for sure that's definitely a very likely possibility near future.
Well, I would love to see a
Yeah.
one-on-one match between you and my friend Brandon Espinoza, who wrestles for Dysfunction.
Brandon, what's his last name? Espinoza.
Espinoza.
Espinoza. Okay.
He's in OVW as well. He's part of a faction called Dysfunction. So a Paul Hubris
Oh
versus Brandon
yes, yes,
Espinoza
yes, yes,
match
yes, yes, yes. Uh-huh. Yeah,
would be something I
I
would
got
love
you
to
now. Yeah.
see.
Mhm.
But hey, Paul, do you want to tell the fans where they could find you at on social media?
Yeah, it's Instagram is Paul under dash Hubris, Facebook Paul Hubris Wrestler, YouTube because my channel's popping off now, which is great. I've had like 100,000 views in the past month, which is nuts.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, I was like, what the fuck? That's the Hubris philosophy. But if you just search up Paul Hubris on YouTube, it comes straight up. Twitter, I don't use Twitter. What's my at on Twitter? Paul Hubris. Something. It's
we
just Paul
will
under dash.
we'll find this right now.
It's looked at. I don't tweet, man. Like I'm on it for wrestling. It's just at Paul Hubris. There you go. No
He found it
space.
before me. Yeah, we're
Yeah. I
at
just
Paul
was like,
Hubris.
um, it is that, but I don't do much on Twitter. Yeah, it's just full of too much hate, honestly. Um,
Truly is, man. It's
just
crazy.
dude, people are nuts. Like people, like I laugh at it. Like I'm very thick-skinned. Like doesn't matter what people say to me, I don't care. Like I'm kind of blessed. I have that. Most people need to care, but I'm one. I do not let words affect me whatsoever. But yeah, I just still don't do it, man, because like I can't bite my tongue. You know, I've like I want to get signed one day. You know, like I'm like
Yep.
I'm not having
He's
some
not
bad
trying to
history on
get
Twitter.
searched for something for 4 years ago or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want somebody call. Yeah, oh, you said somebody was this, so you're cancelled. I'm like, but because something that isn't cancelable now will be cancelable in 10 years.
Yep.
So just leave it, man.
Make sure you use everybody's pronouns the way it's supposed to be and all this other
I'm
shit. And
staying out of that, man. I'm staying out of it. I'm staying out of it.
let's all
No
stay out
comment.
of it. We're
No
good.
comment.
We're not gonna cancel Paul today, guys.
No comment. You know, maybe once, in 20 years, if I make a bunch of money, I'll say my true opinions. But
Just not
right
now.
now, there is no comment. Listen,
You
I'm
know.
old school, man. I'm old school. Like.
Yep. Paul
But
Hubris is
yeah,
just Paul Hubris. That's at the end
that's
of
it.
the day.
It's all gimmick. Whatever I say, it's the hubris philosophy. It's all gimmick. It's not my real
Yep.
name. This is what I'm saying, man. I'm constantly working.
Oh, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
Paul, man, it's been a fun fucking show. I mean, we've been at this for a long time now, way longer. I think this is going to be actually my longest episode ever.
Record hold. That's what I'm saying, man. That's
So you're
gotta
still
do
the RWA champion, never lost it, and the longest podcast
this.
without
Yeah,
gloves.
this podcast is what as long as my title reign.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But hey, man, Paul, this has been such a fun time, man. I really enjoyed our conversation. I've
Let's
had
go,
such a
brother.
fun time being able to sit down and actually get this done. I know we've tried this a couple times. Mental health got in the way, but we
Don't
did
worry
it.
about it, brother.
We
Yeah,
finally did it, man. I'm fucking excited about this. So,
done.
Paul, thank you so much for being a part of the show. It's been an
Yeah,
honor.
no problem.
Guys, until next time, this has been a pro wrestling podcast with Matt and friends. My guest, Paul Hubris, over here. Make sure you go follow, subscribe, like all his shit on socials. It's fucking incredible. Till next time, guys. Take care.